Okay, good evening. This is the Townsend Finance Committee calling the meeting to order at 6:09 p.m. We are all in the room, but I would appreciate a roll call attendance or voice.
Carol Hoff is present.
Sam Grant, Dave Walker present.
Mary Jane Churchville present.
Don Hayes present. With that, we have a forum. We are going to continue. This meeting is being recorded. It will be replayed on Channel 9 and will also be posted to the YouTube channel. Is there anybody else recording this meeting?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's Cindy King. Nobody else picking up. That would be the only additional recording. At this point, additions or deletions, I have no additions or deletions to make at this point. Moving into the work session, the first point I had was to review minutes from February 6th, February 11th, February 13th. And everybody read them?
Looked at them.
Any changes to them?
No.
Do we want to
Make a motion to accept the 3 different minutes from February 2025.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so we had a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Any further discussion? None being heard.
That's water under the dam anyway.
Yeah, roll call vote.
Carol Hoff says yes.
Sam Grant, yes. Dave Walker, yes.
Mary Jane Churchville, yes.
Don Hayes, yes. Unanimous. The minutes have been accepted. And Carol, if we accepted, you email them to town clerk?
I haven't, but I can. I wasn't
Okay,
sure what I'm
once
supposed
it's
to.
done, yeah.
Once it in, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have them all on my computer, so
Okay.
it's not a big deal. I can
And
email
then
them.
we'll continue on with those February ones.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I had put correspondence on here, but the only thing we asked her, so we did get the letter that had been sent out by the town administrators, and we forwarded to us. This was August 5th of last year. We did review it when it was mailed out last August.
So do we want to revisit it for 2 seconds?
We can.
Oh, yeah. 2 seconds, that'll take 20 minutes.
All right.
Oh, I think there's an extra.
Only because I think it's important that we memorialize this information on for the townspeople. Because the last paragraph, I think, is critical. It says, it is therefore critical that North Middlesex work within our limitations and produce new budget assessments within our projected annual growth. For fiscal year 2026, a 3% assessment increase will total $40,979,991, including operating, transportation, and debt service. Any figure above that would require overrides, and these have not generally been well received.
Yes, and there was an amount put in there, and we saw at the town meeting on, and I'll get my dates right. And the town meeting voted to approve the full assessed value from the town and pay for it with operating funds and just the free cash. Yes, hopefully there's
So that being said, does that mean that it's taken out of this budget?
it is not taken out of the budget. It goes in the budget as it was presented. And the new assessment just before the town meeting, it came down to, it was $1,010,000 and change. But that's in the budget.
All right.
Okay.
education, we don't have pages listed on here, so, education is on line 500. Let me.
Okay. Let's see. So it stays in.
It stays in.
And when they finally figure out what the final number is gonna be, it will be in that, not included in that number.
As far as the school,
No, when the board of selectmen and the town administrator make a decision on the final number, or does that not happen?
well, the final number, the final assessment, and I had given you the million, and
Mhm.
that was the increase over last year. With the million, and so when we look at, what we have here on line 500 in the budget,
Mhm.
the North Middlesex assessment is for, schools is, and transportation is 14,037,426.
Right. Okay,
And that number is not gonna change, that's what the final assessment for the schools were, there's gonna be no changes as far as I'm aware
oh,
to the school budget.
Right, I think that was, yeah, they seemed to say, they indicated that that was the final number.
Right.
Okay.
So if we come in and fund the schools with that number, and again, that's not counting the, which is the school building.
oh, okay, I thought it was more like 6,000.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
point of clarification and concern, Kim Craven and I am speaking at this moment as a school committee member and not as a resident.
Mhm.
There was a figure that was given, as you know, in the letter from August,
Mhm.
and then an amount over that. At the budget summit, there was a statement made that they were going to put forward a number and keep it at that and then keep the rest. That was the 1.3 number. That was adjusted down to the 6 and change as an override. As you know, at the
Mhm.
town meeting, the special town meeting, that was then adjusted and put on free cash in the levy and not in an override. It was a lot at the meeting,
Mhm.
but it was clear and that vote did pass. But yesterday, it was stated that the override would be inclusive of the schools. And it was very clear that the intent at the special town meeting, because that letter was very clear that it would fund 3%, it would be overage as part of the levy and as free cash and not in an override status. So we were very confused. There was no communication to the school itself or to the school committee as to why that occurred yesterday. So we have been in touch with the appropriate personnel. We would ask that this board, this committee, vote not in favor, would not endorse that override. I will speak as a citizen in
Mhm.
general terms, but as a school committee person, because we voted very specifically to not have it be in an override status.
Well, it needs to, if the statements could be put, once you have a line in the budget, we've agreed on the line, it is part of the budget and we have to pay for it. It's kind of like, so as a result, any line in here has that same piece. If we're saying that every line in the budget is what's going, and there's an override for 625,000 is to pay for every line in this.
There's multiple ways to do a budget, and it was very clear yesterday from the statements from the town administrator that all departments had not yet put in their budgets. In reviewing the budget, it's very clear that a line item is in there that the town has already said that they were not going to fill, so that money is still in the budget. Very clear that it was a work in progress. I don't want to veer too much into being a resident versus a school committee member, but it was clear that the budget was in flux. And so to state that this is an override for the town and the schools is a little bit inaccurate, because the number isn't known. We know exactly what it is the ask of the school department.
Yeah.
And it was under the levy. The town actually doesn't know what its budget is yet.
The town doesn't know the full budget yet. When we look at the budget that was presented and forwarded for the town administrator, column G is what was indicated at the time in the budget during the special town meeting. Column H is the proposed cuts. There is no difference in the budget for the school on those lines, on those two columns. There is no change. Let me pull it up a little so.
So what's the impact of this confusion? I mean,
I think that's really all it is right now, the town administrator is trying to work with the department head and come up with a budget, that cuts in it, related to where we're trying to achieve. Then after that, there are also additional columns out here, that potentially, we didn't go that far out. Let me. So further out, they start talking about alternate proposals and savings of 20% of personnel and then they have the original budget. So they are still working towards the budget that we have in column H is the budget that takes into account the $625,000 override that was discussed. The additional columns are how, if the override does not pass, what changes have to be made.
well,
And again, this is a one-year budget. It is not looking forward at all into subsequent years and what impact there may be.
well, how long is it taking to figure out a number? I mean, we've been looking at these numbers now for 2 months. We have them this way, that way, upside down and backwards. And they've done this before. I mean, or at least one of them.
One of them has done it before.
Right, I mean, so
I know.
why is this so confusing and so, yeah, why is it so confusing?
So if they're still working on the numbers, then what are these numbers?
Yeah, we
Because
keep getting numbers and then maybe they change.
and then,
Bless you.
bless you.
Thank you, but
And I'm not even sure these are even accurate numbers, because I just looked, the only reason I looked at the accountant is because I thought it was lower than I remembered. So I went and looked at the worksheets,
Mhm.
and the number on here is like 50,000, but on the worksheet, she's up,
Town clerk,
no,
50,000.
no,
The
the accountant, which
The
is,
assistant accountant.
or whatever.
Okay, so,
Seven.
Mr. Chairman, I was.
And then we can be-
This is the one that I take numbers to the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's
yeah.
an override for the school. It did not have to be that way, there's multiple ways to do an override, and it should be very specific. But the reason why it's not is because there's from the words of the town administrator, paraphrasing, the budget is not set. They set an override without all the budgets in hand, and they look at these numbers, budgets and the reductions that were supposed to be taken, haven't, so conclude that for the, any discussion for my role as a school committee member. But as you, again, I definitely have sets of precedent. But I do want to be clear on the two roles.
It is confusing, I think, to the town people.
It is, as it is to us, but
So that equals to me non-transparency. So why can't we take that out? Or at least motion somehow to let the people know that they're not voting again for the school, because they're not.
they're not. There are lines in the budget and everything highlighted in yellow, that we have, is where the changes are and the proposed cuts.
But
Today,
Yes, it's kind of like, as they work towards the number to see. Now, these are lines, when we start looking at, and I'll use, for instance, I scroll and get to election, the town clerk. We have town clerk postage for 975, it dropped to 0.
what's she gonna do for her postage? He, whoever.
Well, again, this is a one-year budget trying to balance it, so this number that they have was taken $975 out of the budget to try to get it closer to a number that will match
Right.
the amount that they're getting. Now,
They didn't
with
take
that-
the school
with-
out.
No, the school has been voted
Is that,
and it's set. It's, you know, like, that's not changing. I'll scroll to the trip. But what it is, there is another account that was set up last year at annual town meeting for elections. And that's where the postage is gonna come from this year.
well, what are we gonna do if we have to have another election?
That, there's money in that account, but it was there for years where we have state elections and federal elections.
Uh-huh,
Okay,
And so we're gonna have to come to a point where that money has to be repaid so we can afford
Well-
elections.
we
But
can't,
for now, we're trying to balance the budget.
right,
And so we took out of the operating budget a line that we're gonna get the funds.
why didn't we just lower that budget, was that?
but you know, this is a
Whatever we-
problem.
The election is a permanent thing,
The
so you can
elections
take
are,
money from it, but you can't reduce it in the budget.
the elections have cycles. You have a
Yeah, I
year,
know.
you have a year where we have only the annual and 2 special town meetings.
Right.
Or one, maybe 2. And that's set. The other years, 2 and 4, you have state elections, so you have to do primaries in
Right.
September, and you have to have an election in November. So those years, you have 3 elections that you have to care for. And with the state elections, you also have to plan for the early voting and the mail-in voting. When you get to the presidential, you have a March primary in addition to the September primary, the November election, along with the annual. So those years, in order to try to balance it and keep the budget looking like it was just pretty constant, they set up a file last,
Yeah,
budget.
I remember that.
And so there was money put in there that in order to have the elections and cover the elections, we are gonna have to put money in there if we continue to use it. But that money was put aside for elections, so that's, in order to hit the 1 year, you're trying to draw on that, hoping.
But what I'm suggesting, why can't
This
that be lowered, because it's not a major year?
is lowered, this is lowered to, this is, so when we get to elections,
Right,
the election budget itself, is 11,275, and that's gonna be your lowest year, and that's gonna be the constant every year. The other budget line, that's a separate expense, or it's a separate line, we have to find that there's gonna be, either we have to find funds in the operating budget to do it, or we have to find free cash that we could fund that other account and put it in there so that we can cover those other years that are more expensive on the elections.
and where's the postage coming out of that 11,000?
The postage,
There's 0 postage right now for whoever does
Okay.
the,
Well, how can we make them do a 5-year budget? Because number one, we keep robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
This has been their
Right.
operating, this is how this
Right.
town's been doing. So every year they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're always in a horrible cycle. And they refuse to do a 5-year budget. So how can we make them do a 5-year budget? And maybe this is the year where we need to bite the bullet and do some really harsh cuts to get us into a place where we're not always robbing Peter to pay Paul.
What row are you looking at?
It's line 128 in the budget, line 132. The 975 in column G is reduced to 0.
Okay, and then she's gonna do post, if she,
On 152, there's $1,000.
There was $1,000, and that was in the elections. So, but when I just spoke with her, she said this was for the elections.
So how are we handling the school thing? Are we, what are we doing with the school?
Well, the school number stays the way it was.
yeah,
Because-
14,000?
The 14 million, because that's what was voted on at the town.
change, whatever the change was, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we shouldn't be touching the school, right?
Right.
Because
The
it's,
schools are
And we're not.
But it's listed, and it gives the impression to the community members that the schools require an override, and we do not according to the
They
special.
should put a
town
note in here. They
meeting
should
on
put,
warrant.
at
oh,
the
because
minimum.
it's, you say because it's listed on the sheet.
Yes.
It appears, okay.
I think she's
I-
100% right.
Yeah, okay, I
It
get it.
appears
is
as
going on the
requested.
ballot
It
As
is,
an override.
The school?
Ballot
The whole
question.
thing.
The ballot question
Oh,
from yesterday,
okay.
it appears as an override.
Oh, we haven't seen that.
We
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
When do we get to see that? FinCom.
oh,
That is my consternation when you were talking about, but
Oh, okay, so,
yesterday it was voted as an override for $625,000 for the town and the schools. And the schools were eliminated from the override.
yes, they were.
100%, 100%.
Right,
Oh, we haven't seen that.
I'm sorry.
So,
It's not your fault.
no,
right, we haven't seen the,
When do you think we might get it?
I mean, how can we even work to
So-
do anything?
So why would
Can
my
I add
town,
that your FinCom liaison from the Board of Selectmen is on the Zoom right now?
right.
Oh, then why
Okay.
don't we ask her?
All
When are
right,
we- Veronica, when are we gonna get that letter that, I mean, the
The wording.
the wording for the ballot? So it tells us.
Yeah, she raised her hand.
okay, maybe she can't.
Maybe it's
Are you,
technical.
maybe you're muted?
She's there and she's.
I
not-
don't think I am.
Okay,
You're good.
I can answer a couple questions here. The school budget stays as the school budget is. The funding is for the town, which includes the schools. Nobody is changing the school budget. That's number one. Number two, on the question on the ballot that was put forward at the selectmen's meeting yesterday. So you can, I don't think we have ever distributed to all departments the wording of the ballot ever for any override, but you can watch the selectmen's meeting and see the motion. It was read into the record. So if you want it, you can get it there. It is available, it is transparent, and that's the way it goes. Two other things, the budget that you're looking at is the budget that does not require, it's what the departments gave, and it does not require collective bargaining negotiations. We have 5 unions that we work with, is that right? 4 or 5. And it takes time to do that. The cuts that are in the proposed override budget are cuts that department heads made that did not include to go to collective bargaining. And it retains the staff as is. Everybody's just going to have to make do in their working environment with less. As far as the elections go, at town meetings, when there's an article that says we would like to take from free cash $35,000 for elections, which I believe is what the wording was for the elections thing that Kathy put forward, I think a year ago, because of all the override votes that were anticipated, as well as what Dawn spoke to. That money exists over fiscal years. So it does not have to be expended within the current fiscal year. It is separate from the operating budget. And that is how Kathy can zero out her postage, because she can tap into that warrant article. And if you were on capital planning, we saw a whole list of those articles, and some of them are going to be combined to allow for things that we don't have in either free cash or capital stabilization. Because although there have been override asks, and no, they haven't passed, the town has been cutting. And one thing we haven't done, and Dawn, I know you can attest to this, is replenish capital stabilization or replenish the stabilization count. We have not been able to do that as a town for the past 5 years. We have maintained our staffing in order to provide services to the town. Now, as far as if the override doesn't pass, we can't say right now what those are. If we went out and said, oh, look at all these cuts, and we have not collective bargaining it, the town would be in a much worse place than what they are right now. That has to be collective bargaining. It is not done in public. And there's a lot of work to be done over the next few weeks. So just know that. On the 5-year budget, my last year and my last round as select board, we got a community compact grant for ClearGov software in order to do 5-year planning. The select board did that. We are very much in favor of 5-year planning. But for whatever reason, the last I heard, and I had an account to ClearGov, as did Dawn and anybody else that was on the FinCom or the select board at that time. But apparently nobody, somehow, I thought ClearGov was doing it, was going to enter all the data for the last couple years. Apparently that never happened. My term ended, and apparently so did ClearGov software. Maybe Dawn can talk more to that, but I did ask that when I came back as a selectman in November and was surprised to see that ClearGov software was not being used by the town.
The ClearGov software was a 1-year grant. We received it. The idea was to load prior year's data. Nobody was able to validate that they looked good. Everybody trying it and getting reports could not correlate the actual budget to what had been entered into ClearGov. The second year of ClearGov would require that we pay software licenses and beyond. There was nothing in the budget to continue with ClearGov. There was nothing that showed us it was of value. That it could be of value. It sounds like it should be, but there's no reason why we can't do projections in Excel with the files we have, or we can use the tools that TLS and MMA provide for a 5-year budget.
Well, how much is the ClearGov?
About 17,000 a year for the number of users we need.
So another thing that got dropped with budgeting, we as a town have been dropping a lot of things in order to keep the town going and the schools going together. It is a together thing. And so to say that the Board of Selectmen does not want a 5-year plan is absolutely in error. So with that, I will go back to muting myself and let you continue your meeting. But please feel free to ask me if you have any other questions.
Okay, so it's $17,000 a year.
Correct, for the number of licenses that would be required.
How many licenses would you need?
Well, it's
Yeah, how much is the Excel?
I would say we have software licenses for Excel because we pay Microsoft
There you go.
licenses every year.
Do you know?
But again, it's kind of like the idea is that with Excel, we have found when people do insert columns or insert lines and things like that, they don't understand the interaction between those and formulas that may be there.
Well, that's
And
a
so that's
training
what-
issue on part of the
Who?
people that
and
are
usually,
running the
but we-
store.
You know, those are the pieces that we have to work with. We don't necessarily have an Excel expert in
But-
here.
So, can I say,
Oh, it's so frustrating.
we would be able to get a GUI interface with Excel
Mhm.
that could be
Right.
entered into by town employees pretty easily.
Yeah.
That can't be messed with formulas, so that you all don't have to be using this type of, enter as you will. Everything can be entered into a very easy form using Excel. It's not that hard. I think that there's many of us that are pretty good with Excel, that have been offering to
Yeah.
help the community. You know, we're running pivot tables and Excel sheets
Mhm.
daily, trying
Yeah.
to keep up with the changes. There's people that want help.
No,
I think we should reach out and ask who they are because this is crazy. This is really
No,
crazy.
it's kind of,
You know, to not have good figures, to go for 12 months of the year, not know what's going on, and then in January, everybody does the knee jerk. It's insane fiscally.
And I'll get this out and let you all continue your meeting, because I could probably comment a lot. As a community member, we rely on you all as FinCom. You are supposed to be the last folks that take everything and give us the recommendations on town meeting floor. You are the ones that present the budget. The fact that you don't know what's happening with the override, you don't know how you can then speak on it. I hope that we as community members can rely on you to be watching out for us. 94% of folks that were pulled. It's not scientific, but they had to give their name and address. I can recognize just about everyone that did it. Their comments were not attached, but it was loud and clear that everyone wanted this discussion at town meeting. They wanted a budget that they could understand to talk about and then get behind an override. There was a group of us that were ready to get behind it. I'm gonna go back to the ARPA funds that Veronica has said cannot be reallocated. They can. National League of Cities has said so. Our own consultant, CSS, has said so. We are under the 10 million. There's different rules. I would push and say all of it can be reprogrammed, but ARPA funds said it should not be spent on recurring costs. New positions should not be created. The Board of Selectmen created these policies that they and only they could determine what these funds could be used for. If that's snuck in under the radar, that a position that would be on our tax levy, those incremental 10,000, 20,000 have been on the tax levy. They shouldn't have been. They were sneaking through at town meeting. We didn't have a line item opportunity to get rid of them. Now is the opportunity for you all as FinCom to make the recommendation of that position. This has nothing to do with the person in the role. It was not supposed to be set up as a position. ARPA was clear about that. We have the flexibility to get rid of the position and take that remaining funds and apply it to the regular positions that we have. If you were funding some of the cops with the ARPA, put it into those police officers' position and reprogram it. It's still about $120,000. That is a tremendous savings for our community members. They were never intended to be a position. Now is the time to take care of it.
I agree.
I'm requesting you all, as our FinCom, to make that recommendation because we do not have one person on our board saying we're gonna keep that position. You all are supposed to be watching this, and ARPA is clear on that.
And I thank you for saying that, Kim, because we've been talking about that and we get to the point and then we duck and then we hide. I would like to make the motion that we do make it very clear that the ARPA funds are to be not used for recurring
Any position.
any positions in any department.
I would like to note that any position that is funded by existing ARPA funds will not be funded in FY27 because the ARPA funds will no longer be available. If you are to fund a police officer for FY26 through ARPA funds, those funds, that position is gone in FY27. Moreover, the community services coordinator left, and those funds are being put towards salary. And that should be in the recap if you got that, Dawn. I don't know what Nelson has given you. So I didn't go through those files today. As far as what should be done, check the budget for FY18 and FY19, where a human resources person was in the budget and was never hired. One of the uses of ARPA funds was to use them for the community for things that were intended to be funded, but were unable to be. So we can argue the ARPA funds all we want, but those have pretty much flown the coop as the end of December. And we are applying the funds that did not go to community services for the remainder of this year because of a resignation to this current budget, which puts whoever is in that position in jeopardy for not being funded in FY27. So just be aware of that. I will
position,
Go back to
Veronica,
So-
my liaison position.
right, the funding does not cease to be viable for our community on December 31st. You can reallocate, because of our designation under $10 million, the funding at any time. It has been confirmed by our own consultant and National League of Cities, because you did not want to take that at face value, understood, because I wouldn't take you at face value, because I knew you to be incorrect on this. If that position is going away anyhow, do it now, so that our community benefits from that money now. The position is going to go away. There is no reason to put that additional burden on the taxpayer, on the levy that will compound year over year. It should go away now. It has
That
nothing
will-
to do with the person.
That will put the human resources person is not 120,000. I will start with that.
It
It's
says
less
it
than
was.
that. You can
It
check with Nelson. It is not 120,000.
It stated it was. I said the remaining balances of ARPA.
So that will put us $275,000 in the hole starting out FY27, because we used non-recurring funds, which is the free cash of 200 and the ARPA funds of 75K for FY26. Those are non-recurring funds. So before we ever look at the FY27 budget, we as a town are $275,000 in a hole. If you read our budget policy, it's towards the beginning. It says not to use one-time funds to fund your operating budget. And that is what we are doing. And so we can argue ARPA another time offline, Kim, but that's all I have to say on it. And I am just speaking as the liaison from the select board. Thank you.
You had ARPA funds for police officer positions before, so it's no different.
You have to remember that we were in a pandemic. I was a selectman for the 3 years of the pandemic, and we were in a pandemic.
It's just like we used free cash in 2013 to fund the school department. Don't say we didn't do something. Don't say it was an exception. It was done. The funds are there. It would save our tax dollars. It would help our community members. It would take $100,000, $120,000 plus or minus off the override, off compounding. It can be done. You already said you're moving the community services funding. It's no different. And if you don't want to use it for personnel, figure out how to use it for something else. It needs to be done.
I agree.
I agree too.
Can we take a vote? And then speak at the meeting and tell the town what we voted on instead of being quiet people in the back.
We can take a look. I mean, the positions are still listed in here, but it doesn't say it, and the funding is going to zero on the proposed.
Well, wasn't it
Doesn't
proposed
say
to
that-
fund her through FY26?
So
No, we were told originally, well, yeah,
So,
It's through 26, and those of us looking at the budget, it's a sleight of hand. It looks like you made a reduction, not you all. It looks like the town made a reduction of $30,000. Well, that looks great. It didn't. It just shifted all of our funding to ARPA.
and again, all of the funding has been going there, and there was 30,000 when we looked at the community services coordinator.
yeah,
When we-
yeah.
There was 30,000 there when we looked at the March 1st budget.
Yes.
And that went away on the budget summit on March 1st. So
Well,
we
wait,
have multiple iterations of the budget.
Yeah.
What did we do in the beginning of March? And what cuts, what did we eliminate? We eliminated the paving. It's kind of like there are other things that have been eliminated already.
Right.
So just looking at this budget and saying, these are the changes from the budget from special town meeting, is we have two iterations of what we're cutting that need to be described.
So yet
Not
again,
just- not
when
just
are we
the one.
gonna get the real numbers?
There are real numbers, it's just that you've now got iterations, and how do you want to show that we had made a significant amount of cuts? Mainly, it was the paving money, 250,000, that we cut on the day of the budget summit, along with several other.
Yeah, but when Jim Smith came and gave us his budget, he said he was just being proactive because he knew he wasn't gonna get it, so that's not,
That's not really a, it's
No,
not really a
but-
cut.
yeah.
Well, there's several things that we have to look at. We've been trying to get money for paving, all along. We put a paving plan together in 2019.
Right.
And voted if we have the funds available, we should start with 50,000 and increase it by 50,000 every year till we get up to the 250,000.
Okay, can I say something about that? I read that in the bylaws and it doesn't say one thing about if we have the money.
I don't remember the word if being in the entire conversation
Yeah,
back
Just
then.
look it up right now and you can see it's a 2-minute deal. It does
I'll
not
take
say
your
one
word for
thing.
it. I trust you to read it exactly as it is.
So, so that's sort of disturbing because we're getting so many different
Mhm.
pieces of information.
My
It's like you
understanding
can't
was-
trust anything. Unless you see it in writing.
Unless you say it right.
That's my theory on this. But I don't want to divert too much to get
But,
off.
you know what?
Back in
we'll record that and go back
1918,
to it.
Take your pick. We had same problems with budgeting then as we have now.
Right.
And that's when we sat down and said, certain things have to be maintained, and if they're not, everybody's in trouble.
Right.
One of them was the roads.
I agree 1,000%.
And then we said, okay, we will get a 5 or 10-year plan, I don't care how many years. And we will continuously take a small portion of the budget to put it into the road service so that we get a few miles a year, a few half miles a year, whatever, paved year after year after year to keep the roads passable.
Right. No, I get it. I think that
And so
that's,
therefore, there was a problem the town had that, from my personal opinion, was put to bed so we could concentrate on other problems. And now I'm hearing, 6 years later, I wasted my time working on that problem because they're taking away the road business in the first place. At the same time, I have only had one piece of paper handed to me that says all of the 220 towns, or a greater portion of the 220 towns, are gonna get their pitchforks and rakes out and go on Beacon Hill and make them stand up. Not just our budget, but other cities and towns, especially towns, have over 50% of their budget is their schools. We need good schools so that we have a good future. And we're being here every time I hear what's Brad's the name of the superintendent? I hear him stand up at town meetings and say nice things, but he's not saying nice things when he's saying we're going from 25 to 32 students per teacher. And yet I still see these little go-karts driving around with school bus written on the top. That's not inexpensive.
no.
I know for a fact that when the school bus comes by my house every morning, while I'm outside with coffee, there's a seat on that school bus for my daughter. And there's a seat on that school bus for her friend down, half a mile, a quarter, 3/4 of a mile down the street. Both are going over to Parker. And that's not the only example. There's many of them. You go up to every school at quitting time or starting time, you see a bunch of kids get off buses and a bunch of kids get out of cars and then into the cars at the end of the day. There's a seat on one of those buses for each one of those kids. And that's a problem with Beacon Hill. Yet I have not heard anybody, except for this one piece of paper that was handed out at the town meeting, about something happening out at UMass Amherst. That, we're saying as a community, Massachusetts community, not a North Middlesex community, not a Middlesex community, not a Worcester community, not a Townsend community, but as a state community, getting up on Beacon Hill people and telling them to fix it.
Yeah.
That, you know,
It is, but let's go back, that's a problem, that's a real problem, but let's go back to this part of business.
I just, bottom line, carryover of funds. The pavement management funds may be carried from one year to the next, subject to availability of funds.
Are you reading the bylaws?
In the charter. Yeah, bottom
Oh,
89?
this is a charter, okay.
89.7.
Oh, okay, PM funds can be carried over from each, subject to the, okay,
Right,
got it.
and now again, this gets to, do we allocate him in his operating budget, which goes away at the end of every year? versus
Well, I think what we have to do
versus
now
in a
is,
separate,
we're in a real bind right now, because we don't, good figures, we don't know. There's issues coming up, and so I think that we have to clear the table for this year. We're in a pickle, a lot of us are new, we don't understand how they work crazy. And then I think we have to start coming out of the chute, July 1, meeting with every department on a regular basis and finding out what they're doing, find out what they need, what they don't need. I think that is the service we need to give, because this 11th hour business is not good.
but maybe we start with this year, the FY 2025 is out, and we're in a home stretch of FY 25, see where the PDA is.
We could
and
do
meet with
that.
them And start that up front.
So back to the ARPA thing, I'm confused about that $30,000 that everyone's talking about, because
Well,
we
this,
were told,
wasn't this the build-up? Remember,
Okay,
she
this
said
is-
it
Yeah,
was
the
the
build-up.
build-up of the dollars to actually
To
fund the
try- to
position.
try to, again, that gets to trying to get the 5-year out, but there was no 5-year plan put forward. It was,
But that was the buildup for those two
so
positions.
where did that money go?
So
Okay.
if we eliminate those two opera positions,
Mhm.
whatever that,
the-
because it wasn't it like 70,000, I forget how
80,
much.
yeah.
Yeah,
So there's that, and then you get rid of the buildup money and return it to the general funds.
right, which is what they're doing here.
Yeah,
Is that what they're doing?
That's what they're doing here.
That's
They-
already, right, that's already been done.
Well, that
The
one's-
one position was done, and when we look at this one, it was done for the second position.
okay,
this version.
so is the human resource position going away?
No, not at this point.
So
This
how
this
is it being funded then?
It's, right now, it's opera funds.
Well, that's what we're saying, that needs to go away completely, because we're not gonna have the money afterwards to continue.
that should end, if
Continue
it
it.
exists,
So,
I'm really confused.
End
because
it now.
This person's not what's this anymore, this person resigns, that person, and I lose who's who.
Okay.
So we have somebody on ARPA right now,
We have somebody on opera right now.
so we should terminate that as of the 31st of June or 1st of July. And take the rest of for 26, take that money and spread it to where it needs to go.
Yeah, no,
Now, not at the end of the fiscal.
Right.
Fine, I'm just saying,
Oh,
definitely,
There was nothing allocated
Well,
in
that-
FY 17 or 18.
We've been adding 10,000 every year.
Correct, but there was nothing in 17 or 18.
No, there,
But you were stowing away after that.
well, it started.
I think
in
it started with the,
25.
whatever, but, okay, I mean,
Well, if they didn't have it funded, they
well-
didn't need it, I guess, right? I mean, what,
they didn't
Well,
have
they-
it funded, and they don't have the money to continue
well,
it.
yeah, it's like, wow, I
So-
can have a lot of things I wanted
So
without money.
why are we prolonging this? Take the money
Agony.
now
Yeah,
and
I agree.
return it.
so we should make this motion so that when we get, so you can get up and speak at the town meeting and tell us what we're.
yeah. Get up at town meeting. Make sure you bring your armor. Like, there's some out there that's
No, I
bulletproof.
think we should make that motion that the ARPA funds be returned now, or what's the word?
Reallocated.
Reallocated now. And,
See how they can be reallocated.
and this is a recommendation by the FinCom. We don't have to ask permission to do this.
We don't.
So that gets us, what, 75,000? Is that what's that
No.
position?
Well, no, I think it's
No,
more than that.
No, No, okay, so are we talking FY 25 and how much? Yeah, or
No, I'm talking for FY 26,
Yeah,
that would be about 73,000.
73,000.
but what about the build-up money?
Didn't the buildup
The
money
buildup
The
money's
build-up
already
money's
been,
gone.
is already
in the
gone.
budget.
is already
They've taken
gone.
both, they've taken the build-up money and it's gone. In the past years, the build-up money became part of free cash. And that's part of the free cash number that was sort of.
Plus, what I
in
understand,
January.
I understand if the insurance is not funded out of, like health insurance is not funded out of the ARPA fund, so it comes from the town.
It does. Yeah.
So that would be another savings.
Oh, you mean the benefits that go along with these positions?
Right.
Yeah.
So you would save not only the salary, but you'd save on the providing the
benefits,
benefits for those two positions.
Excuse me, is our insurance based on anything more than a bunch of people?
Health insurance is the number of people and the estimated,
So we get a reduction in health insurance? Don't we pay for health insurance ahead of time?
no, I think it's a
Well-
quarterly invoice.
Yeah, for what we got to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and I don't know if they have to provide numbers
I'm
by
also-
month.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
like,
I'm with you.
Well, regardless, it would be, put that money on to the uses it's needed. I'm not gonna say better uses, I'm just gonna say uses where it's needed.
okay, so I'm making a motion. Can I make a motion?
You can make
You can go ahead,
I'll make a motion, to turn the ARPA funds,
return or reallocate.
reallocate, sorry, I keep saying return.
Reallocate.
ARPA funds for FY
Put it on for
25,
Will.
No, like 25.
26.
Current
No,
and-
current,
and future
25
5
and
and
26.
Oh, you want, okay.
for the human resources manager.
Reallocate.
Line item 8.
do we want to do both the resource
I'm glad
in
you
the,
used line
in
item.
the,
These
the coordinator?
The
That long.
coordinator is only FY 25.
Okay, so it'd be the human resource manager.
Now, are there other,
Where did the resource manager get reallocated to?
It has not been determined whether it's gonna be reallocated to.
numbers.
One
Thank
other
you.
thing that you guys and the selectmen need to be reminded of as you start cutting things, that we're self-funded for unemployment.
Correct. That's
So
an
we
additional
don't,
cost.
like, if you have a regular job that is funded by unemployment,
Mhm.
you're paying the town would be paying an insurance number to unemployment, as does the employee, right? on your paycheck.
Mhm.
But we do not do that as a town.
Mhm.
We self-fund it, so you would, if somebody gets laid off and they decide they don't get another job right away and they're gonna collect unemployment, they'll go down to the unemployment office or do it online or whatever.
Mhm.
But the bill will come back to the town, but whatever unemployment is paying the former employee, the town has to reimburse the state for. So if somebody gets like if you have a $100,000 employee and let's say their unemployment amount is 50,000 just on an annual basis, then the town has to pay the 50,000 as an annual basis, that's not the amount.
Right,
No, I get it. So,
So-
but this contest, I mean, you can appeal this, correct?
Well, no, if we're
Well,
laying somebody off,
Oh,
That's,
we,
oh, I see.
it's not appealable.
I got
I
it,
mean,
okay.
we would, the state, the employee, if they don't get another job right away,
Mhm.
and that's any employee. And
Right.
and even if some of these people that might quit because of the 20% cut, they could go to unemployment and ask if this is big enough to qualify. Like, I had to leave my job because they cut my pay too much. I don't know if I have no idea what the rules of
I don't
unemployment are.
know where they are anymore anyway.
Yeah.
But if we lay somebody off altogether, we have to make sure that we budget for,
Okay,
you
now,
might not need to budget over
Do you know-
50,000, but you need to budget whatever I don't know what the percentage
Isn't
is.
that money kept somewhere?
No,
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 okay,
no,
okay.
no.
You,
The state doesn't
hang-
make
time out. Do you want to learn about unemployment or are they?
Let's not.
they
Well, I understand
That's not-
unemployment.
Okay.
but it's for a
It's-
period of
it's
time.
It's an employer-only tax.
15.
It is not an employee tax. And
I
the employer
understand
puts
that.
in there's two methods. You can put in based on a percentage of your payroll quarterly,
Correct.
which the town doesn't do. So when a employee is let go and unemployment is paid, we are responsible for the entire bill for the unemployment.
And we don't
For
have
the
to keep a
duration.
kitty, the state does not require that you keep a kitty.
That's where you make your determination. We, as an employer, decided that we want to do it if we lay somebody off to pay the entire bill when it comes due, rather than putting money into a kitty.
Okay, so how long can somebody
No,
collect
there's no
unemployment?
kidding in
I
our
believe
budget.
it's minimum 26. It had been extended to 39 at certain.
It's 26.
26
26
weeks,
now.
26 weeks?
Yeah.
So they're talking about all these people being cut. Are they ready for that?
Right now, you're talking about a motion where it's really one person. So it's kind of like, so.
You'd still
We
be
start
saving
with
money, unemployment is less than her total compensation.
Right.
check.
Yeah,
Right.
it'll be less than her,
Yeah.
the money.
And it's
Right, but I don't
finite
believe you can
time.
use ARPA funds to pay that, so that has to come out of other funds in the budget.
But then you can take that opera money and put it to someplace else in the budget.
Couldn't you pay unemployment with it?
He said you
I
can't
don't
use it,
believe you can. It's-
Not directly, but indirectly.
I guess indirectly.
Reduce another fund.
So are we handcuffed to this? Is this
It-
what I'm
The
hearing?
money.
No,
My
no,
understanding
we-
right
no.
now in the budget, that there would be enough to pay that person's unemployment for the 26 weeks. My hope would be that we don't have to lay any other employees off. If the board of selectmen would have stopped and done a real budget, we would have been really helpful in trying to get it to pass first time around. Unfortunately, what's gonna happen is, I don't know whether it will pass or not. Likely, there's probably not. We'll have to go to a second one, and hopefully that everyone could get it perfect and all correct, so that it will pass, and no employees will have to get laid off, the hope. But taking that money and reallocating it and using it to pay, I would suggest the cops, if they were paid for already out of opera funds, use that 120 plus or minus, give it to the chief, reallocate his line item to other budget line items.
Let him make the decision.
But we're not gonna get the full amount
And
that we save by eliminating that position. We can really only count on half of it if we're
Yeah.
liable for
That's it.
26 weeks of unemployment.
Okay,
There's
Well,
unemployment in a different fund in the town. Already sitting.
right, it's in the insurances. It's kind of like, but that.
Yeah, there's 15,000. That's not gonna cover
Would
26
that make
weeks.
sense? What
Yes,
you-
it will.
What she's saying makes sense. There's
That
insurance
sounds-
policy that covers the unemployment, right? Is that what I heard you say?
I don't know how much she's paying, but they give this thing at 30,000
Cover
for
it
her,
fairly closely.
and half of 30,000.
No, but that's the 30, no,
Correct.
but,
her
but
salary is
just
ARPA
eliminating
funded
the
at
position
73,000.
anyways, in the long run, it's gonna
Right.
save money,
Eliminating it at the minimum for 2026 will save money.
money,
Yes,
yeah.
Because
It will save money, but it won't be the full
Can I
amount.
tell
Fine,
you,
that's-
No.
when you don't pay her at the end of it, you are gonna have to pay her more because they're giving her an increase. So whether you do it this year or next year, that $15,000 is going to pay that person when they get laid off. Bite the bullet and do it now.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea to hire an employee with ARPA funds.
I remember that. I couldn't-
Plus, that's right,
Agreed.
because,
When we
Yeah,
first
that's
learned
I
of the
do.
ARPA funds.
Yeah.
because that's right, because if we wait till 26, you get to raise, so then if she gets laid off, she gets even more
Correct.
money, so you're
It
right,
was a bad
it's better now.
idea.
Plus, I don't know if she was told when, because ARPA funds wasn't a permanent position anyways.
So the longer she stays, the more comes out
Yep.
of unemployment.
Get that?
I'm sorry.
Yep,
No,
no,
I don't
I
even
get it.
all done, but
You
this
use
is
all the
a-
ARPA funds in 20.
Yeah, it's, to me, this is,
I mean, someone has to tell us.
this
Yeah.
is,
I
this is
mean,
an issue that needs to be like a citizen petition at the board. It's like, and this has nothing to do with the person. I feel terrible for the person that is in this position, to be in this position.
Well, we put her in the position when we hired her,
Yes.
and we knew it.
Well,
Yes.
we didn't.
no
we
we.
were against it.
No,
What's
we.
with the we?
Um,
We who were here at
We
the
were
time,
here,
Caesar
our
came
budget
in.
against putting a
Yes.
line in the budget for $0.
Oh,
but it was
FinCom did.
FinCom did.
Yes.
And the
Like,
Board of Selectmen didn't
Yes.
listen to us.
If we have
Yet
put
again,
our
yet
town
again.
in
At
a
the time,
terrible
it was put in the
position.
budget.
Yeah.
And the longer the
Welcome
position
aboard.
stays,
When you
Yeah.
join up, you
Yes.
find that you're
Gotcha.
responsible
I
for somebody
agree,
else's
and I would
actions.
really like the motion to be seconded if anyone's
I'll
interested.
second it.
No ARPA funds returned.
What's the motion again, quickly?
Correct.
Okay,
It's the
it's,
highest
the motion is to
single-
reallocate the human resource manager
$151.
position, I guess I should put opera funds for FY 25-26.
Yeah, but don't we have to say something about, retire that person?
No. We're just saying that's all the motion needs to say is reallocate the resource.
Recommend to the Board of Selectmen to
Yeah.
reallocate.
Reallocate.
That was how it started.
Okay,
Yeah.
Reallocate.
to reallocate.
And leave it up to them what to do with that person?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess
Is that a
recommendation.
recommendation?
Okay, so the motion should read, recommend to the Board of Selectmen to reallocate the human resource manager ARPA funds for FY 25-26.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's the way.
Well, I mean, effectively that, and terminate the position, right? Because if you're reallocating the funds, you have to say
Oh,
to
okay.
terminate the position.
Do we,
End of the-
do
I'm
you want
all in
to-
favor of saying terminate the position.
I think you have to, if you're saying reallocating the funds to pay for the
I
position,
see.
you gotta terminate
You
Okay.
it.
need to say that part of it, it's
Yeah.
not
Okay.
implied, okay.
okay, recommend to the Board of
To terminate the
Selectmen
Terminate the
To
position and
terminate.
then take the money and put
to
it someplace else.
terminate and reallocate the ARPA funds.
Right.
Terminate,
Are we given a date of termination?
No,
no,
That's.
That's their job.
and,
They
and,
have to, and again, it's a recommendation from us.
Well, I understand it's a recommendation. I
Okay.
get it.
okay, so it's gonna say, recommend to the Board of Selectmen to terminate the human resource manager position and reallocate the ARPA funds for FY 25-26.
Correct.
And the reason why we're doing that is different than the coordinator because there's only proper funds through 26,
Okay,
25.
and in that position, she's already vacated it, so there's nobody in it.
No, but
Well,
could they hire somebody else in?
Well, I hope they
Well, no,
don't.
I-
Well, but that. I
Then-
think-
then-
let's,
Then
so
we'll-
let's do this motion and then we'll do another motion.
Okay,
Next,
Okay,
next.
position by position.
Okay,
okay.
okay, so, all right, so this one's good now, right?
Dawn, I have a question. Has anybody on your board even read the job description for the human resources, manager?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Well,
matter.
why
Oh, it
would we
doesn't
need-
matter.
No,
So
I-
who will be doing that job? Should we need to lay off people? Who is doing the work I just want to remind you all that when I stepped into Board of Selectmen in 2020, there were at least 5 lawsuits against the town. There are none now. There were cases where
I'll talk about the lawsuits if you'd like.
no.
resources were done differently. Read the job description before.
The town administrator always did the role of what the human resource person is doing now, and there's no reason why a town of our size, as town administrator, can't do that work.
Right,
And Veronica, you and I have already had the conversation multiple times that the school department is willing to be a resource, shall it be needed.
I'm sorry, Kim, but I have seen nothing from the school department on that. So I am not exactly sure where that information is coming from.
And again, I think you're going across municipal entities or governmental entities.
But this is
and-
our meeting, FinCom. We should
Um,
be able to make our motions and make our votes, correct?
Yes.
Without being sort of
Yeah.
chastised
No, no,
by the
we-
Board of Selectmen liaison.
Yeah.
I just feel
We-
that we've been pushed aside for now 2 months and
No,
2 weeks,
it's just-
2 nights a week for 2 months of my time is starting to wear on me.
It's just because something can be done, doesn't mean it shouldn't have been done. The position should never have been hired, I don't care what the job description says.
I agree with you.
As a taxpayer, we are levying up if that stays in on something that shouldn't be in any form.
Now, are we sure, are we gonna look at all the positions, like you said, Dave, after that are ARPA funded? I don't know if there's any other ones.
All the others have been fully funded now by the budget, except for maybe one position at the senior center.
Well, okay,
We'd have to take a
we'd
look
have
at
to take a look at that, because
Yeah.
we gotta be across the board.
Yeah, it's gonna be consistent.
Yeah, because I'm not doing the,
need
across
to
the board,
revisit
20% except for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that doesn't work for me.
No,
It's across the board or it isn't. So, all right, so what's next?
okay, so,
Well, we have the
Okay,
motion.
We had the motion, we had a second. Any further
Okay.
discussion on?
on the human
on the
resource
human
position.
resources?
Terminate and reallocate the
Well,
funds.
recommend,
Recommend,
Recommend
okay,
termination
yeah,
and reallocate.
okay,
you
Thank
don't
you.
have the authority to,
But of the position, not the person.
okay,
Correct.
so,
They
do
can figure out how to take care of that.
you want me to do the second motion?
No, we
We
didn't
have to
vote
vote on
yet.
the first, we have to vote on the first one.
Oh, we have to vote, that's right, sorry, forgot about that part.
okay, so we would, voting in the affirmative would be to recommend to Board of Selectmen that the position be terminated and the ARPA funds reallocated for the remainder of FY 25 and FY 26. For
Human Resources
Yeah.
Administration.
Position,
All right, Mary Jane Churchman, yes.
David Walker, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Carol Hoff says yes.
Don Hayes, I'm gonna abstain on this one.
Okay,
So it seems like we should probably do a motion to eliminate the community services coordinator
Yes, I
as well,
agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
even though there's nobody in the position
There's nobody in
currently.
the position, but I haven't seen it posted, but it could, I don't know, I haven't seen anything about.
but it could be filled,
Positions are not filling them.
so
Yeah, I
let's
think-
Let's
do,
protect not filling it.
yeah,
Right.
okay,
So-
all right, I'll do,
Let's suggest, okay, and you're gonna suggest something?
I'll make the motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to terminate the Community Services Coordinator position and reallocate the APA funds for the remainder of FY 25 and FY 26.
We'll double check on the 26th. I don't think there's anything.
Oh, okay, for the remainder of FY 25.
The ARPA funds
Yeah.
would-
Yeah, I think you're right. So just for the remainder of FY 25.
I second the motion.
Okay, so we had a motion to recommend the termination of the community services coordinator. With a second. Any further discussion? Then being heard, vote in the affirmative would be to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to terminate the human services coordinator and reallocate the remaining ARPA funds for the FY 25.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Mary Jane Churchman, yes.
David Walker, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Carol Hoff says yes.
Don Hayes, yes.
All right, so that matters. So we're gonna, now, at the town meeting, we read these recommendations out, correct?
We can read them out. We have placed them in.
Well, I do
in the
think
form, But I
that,
think budget wise, I was thinking it should be line by line this year, which is as best we can.
well, I do think that we need to stand up at these meetings and speak, because we're getting an awful lot of bad press, and we work as hard as anyone else, and I think that we have to get up and let everyone know that we are here, that we are doing the job, and we want our voice heard.
You guys should be getting on Facebook too.
Nope,
Oh,
What?
no, not a place.
I don't have Facebook.
Well, no, it's kind of like, if we were gonna post it, we're gonna post it on the finance website, on the finance page. On the website.
I want to stand up, speak.
Um,
Okay,
Well, an individual could tell everybody where to go
hmm,
to find it.
okay, so that motion, now, are we gonna address, the school issue with a motion or no?
The
The
school
school,
issue, what's the
Um,
school issue?
Well, I think it's a clarification. of-
Clarification, clarification.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm scrolling down to get to.
Oh, okay.
um,
Oh, because of the way it's worded on the
Because of
ballot,
the
it's up
way it sounds like it's worded on.
on the
ballot.
override.
So we can see on column G and H, the
I
amount,
guess we're gonna have to watch the YouTube and look for it so we can know what the language is.
So when we look at the columns for the education,
Uh-huh.
G is what it was as of the March special town meeting.
Right.
And column H is what it's moving forward to. So there's no change
No change in that.
in
Not by a
in the amount.
penny.
And those are the full assessed values from both schools.
Mhm.
I think, again, the reasoning behind this, the wording is that all of the lines in this omnibus budget are paid from the general fund. And so I think it's just making a statement that every line in here is paid from the general fund. It's kind of like there is no,
But maybe they could put a little note there.
that's it, that's what I'm saying, is by the notes, with it, there's no change. And because it's paid from the same funds that pays every other.
Okay,
Line
yeah,
in
because
here.
there are notes in different spots.
Right. But this would be, a problem thing.
But the ballot comes before the town meeting, so how the heck can we really tell everybody?
Well,
Well, there's an information meeting on April 16th in the high school.
oh,
So all
but
of
that's
this,
the Board of Selectmen meeting, correct?
it's Board of Selectmen, but I don't see why Finance Committee wouldn't be there
Yeah,
to be able to answer questions.
I remember correctly, it ended up on my calendar.
Okay,
I wrote it down the last time we were here, and I go home and my wife tells me, sends me emails saying, invitation to this meeting and that meeting and the other meeting. I even know when the
So-
election is. Without looking at
So
my
we need
notes.
to go look at the Board of Selectmen, so we know what the language is.
correct. And then we can make the motion,
So
once
we'll-
once we have that.
Okay,
so that's an action we'll
She's
take.
got it 1900.
So that's an action.
Who's gonna volunteer to watch the Board of Selectmen?
I will,
Okay, good.
Watch it or be there?
I know.
Oh.
And get the capture wording.
Yeah, capture the
What throne do they sit on if they don't give us the piece of paper that they've passed?
Well, they didn't create a piece of paper, I don't think.
And they
It's all
said
about the
wording,
throne, you were right, Sam, that was proper language.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have a couple of. Does anyone, I mean, I don't
We
know.
can.
Well, we're in
I
the-
don't know if anyone else.
We're in
wants to
discussion
say.
of the budget, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a couple of things that are a little bit confusing to me.
okay, go for it.
Actually, I have this really long list. Okay, so I thought that we were not hiring anybody, but that for conservation, but I guess we did. And then they were hired at a certain amount recently, and then FY 26, they got a bump.
Didn't everybody get a 4% bump for
Well,
FY 26?
I don't know the, I'm just, I
You have
don't know
no
the answer to
answer.
that. Why was that bumped?
Well, it seems, because he was just hired, so why
Well,
would
that's
he
what I
get a
mean.
bump? Why-
Well, how
usually
would
you
you
don't
get a raise before you've been,
It's a
About a
full-time
year.
position. I don't know what the salary is that they paid coming in, but they budgeted for the position for the full year in FY 25, and so they bumped it for FY 26.
oh,
If there's not a review.
oh,
and a
okay,
bump
I
to
understand.
another
Okay.
salary,
I see, okay,
it-
Yeah,
it's kind
okay,
of-
I see, yeah, I get,
It's a planning, it's a
Okay.
planning.
I see,
It's
okay.
not saying that he's gonna get the bump.
yeah,
I don't know what the rules are, I'm gonna read the HR.
But I see what you're saying, so that explains it. I mean,
Right.
sometimes we have to ask questions, so we
No,
know
no, that's it.
what's going on.
but
Okay, that's that
Okay.
one. And then, the Board of Selectmen, they had, other supplies,
Mhm.
line 17.
Correct.
They had other supplies, $300, and then on 22, they had other charges.
Yeah.
And on 13, they had professional services, but not identified. I mean, not that I want to be picky, but, you know, before we cut people, I'd like to
Mhm.
cut things, you know, if we're gonna do
Right.
cuts.
So
So,
when we look at the lines, the office supplies were cut from 2,500 to 1,250
yes,
in the Board of Selectmen. The other charges were taken for 3,000 and practice zero.
2-0, okay.
So,
So we don't care.
that
If it's
line-
0, we don't care.
well, but it was 3,000 and now it's 0, so they cut.
Okay,
They
Yeah.
cut a total of, what, 4,250
all right, okay.
from their expenses.
So I had a question down on line 37, which is the accountant's salary.
Okay, before we get there, there were two other ones
Okay.
talked about here, the professional services for the 5,000 for the town reports.
Oh, yeah, the
Okay.
town report, yeah.
Right, so that's the printing.
Yeah.
Of the town reports.
Printing.
Mhm.
That is unchanged and that's the
Yeah.
5,000. The other line was the other supplies at 300.
Okay, I just get nervous when I see other, because it's very vague.
Mhm.
That's good. So you wanna go to the accounting?
Well, I just had a question because, okay, it says FY 25 approved is 52,837.
Mhm.
But when she submitted the worksheet, it was 64,396.
Right.
So how come they're showing 52 when she's actually getting paid the 64? And,
No, wait, are you in the right line?
Okay.
This is
so-
like so confusing.
Yeah.
well, I think unless that's not the right line, but
Okay, so we're
26.
gonna-
for
I
no,
like the intersection
37.
of town accountant, and then as of the.
37,
37.
where it says accounting salary, town accountant, deputy town accountant. There's only one
Remember-
person.
Yeah, but remember she was taking classes and
Okay,
her
so,
Yeah,
deal
but
was.
I'm saying here it says, but where is the worksheet?
Oh,
Her worksheet that she submitted
was
for her
higher
current
than
set, for
52.
her current salary was 64,392. And then her request for FY 26 was 75. So my question is, if her current salary is 64 something, why are they only saying 52 something?
Because that was what was in the BVA last, when the budget was passed at town meeting in May of 23 for the FY 24, it was set at the 52,830.
Yeah, but if she's actually getting paid 64 something, shouldn't that
She
be
was.
reflected in the budget? I mean, we're trying to balance the budget, and if we don't have actual correct figures, how can we ever balance the budget?
they've done it.
Yeah,
And that's.
and that's only just going back and looking at the worksheet, because I thought it was, I had remembered from talking to her, and that's not the raise, that's what she's getting.
That's what she's getting, and if we look at the BVA, it will reflect that it's closer to the 64. So when she started the year, it was closer, the annual would have been. the
Yeah, but
62.
but because
Right
we're
now.
trying to balance a budget,
Mhm.
shouldn't it reflect the actual dollars that they're receiving
I-
today? Because otherwise, we're never gonna be able to figure out what the budget is.
Right, and I think if what you'll see here, and I don't have all the background in it, that they have adjusted the FY 26 budget to 66,973.
That's all?
Yes,
Yes.
and it had been in the FY 26 that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah.
At the beginning at 74,397. So when we look, again, we look at columns G and H, that's what it's showing. And
So
Well-
it looks like she's getting a raise, but she's not, she's getting
she's,
Oh, she's getting a tiny raise.
tiny, well,
But I
okay,
thought
yeah,
that
teeny
the whole-
tiny, yeah,
but-
kind.
But wait a minute, I thought that the money was coming off of Markham because of the certifications and the experience that she was taking or
right,
obtaining.
she's.
And the
she's picking up.
scales were gonna balance
Mhm.
at some point.
That's what we had, and I
Yeah, that's
believe
what she
that
gets,
has
yeah,
changed, and we.
Oh, that's changed.
yes.
And we need to get the update on it, but the only thing we have is the numbers.
But I still wanna see real numbers and not.
Would be nice
I
to
think-
see
I
real
think
numbers, I
I think
mean,
these
but
are-
who cares about the numbers, they change all the time.
Okay,
So,
all right,
um,
that's my only.
I guess, no, but I think that it's important, while we look at these numbers and why we are FinCom, and I know you guys are all number people, but I think we also have to remember that these numbers impact human beings in a lot of
Mhm.
different, and our pocketbooks, and I think we have to mesh them both together. So if she has some kind of a transaction with the town, be it verbal or written. I understand writing, statute of frauds and all that, but, if we told her she was gonna do this and she is acting in good faith, taking these classes, going to this thing, and then we renege on it, that's not a good look.
My understanding is she's still working on it. The training is still in here. It has been reduced by 500 from 2,500.
I saw that, so maybe she's making her own
She's
statement.
still,
Yeah.
she's still taking the training and trying to get fully certified as a town accountant.
So what happened, so do we get a deduction on Markham, is that the account?
That's still the Markham is still sitting at 25. So when we look at what Markham was last year, line 46, it was 48,000 last year, and it's down to 25,000 now. So she has continued to pick up.
Line 46?
Like, sorry, line 43. It's kind of like, it's line 60, 46.
Accounting,
Oh, professional tech
technical
services.
Professional tech services.
See, they should say Markham there.
It does in the notes, I believe. And CISA, which is the new name.
So they were 46.5.
Yeah.
And then they were 48, and now they're down to
Now
25.
they're- Right.
Okay, so
And they
that's,
were even higher than that in the earlier years.
And-
Because they were doing our full town accountant. It was before we had an assistant town accountant.
so those tech services have been taken up by the accountant and her assistant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an assistant or is it just
There-
one?
There is, we have assistant town accountant, which is Katie. And then we have the admin, which is Leah Ryan,
Oh,
in the accounting office.
Oh, okay.
oh,
Oh,
So when we look at it, it says support staff.
Supports.
Oh, okay.
so which one is Katie?
Katie is the,
Account-
it's listed as town accountant, deputy town accountant.
Okay, just so we know.
Yeah.
Okay, that takes care of that.
Oh, and she's non-union, so they could bring her number down from 74 to 66 without having to. Now, does she have her own contract though?
I believe she has a contract, I don't know for sure.
Now, on this whole matter of dues and membership that's
Mhm.
scattered throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
500, 300, 200. Are they per person? Is it required by the state of Massachusetts? Is there any wiggle room in any of those?
We have already decreased quite a few of them. We didn't decrease ours because we had one dues and we use it for not only the dues and the memberships, but we also used it for the printing of the manuals. this year.
Oh, right.
So it's kind of like, so sometimes it's a little bit, but let me just. So definitely, I mean, we can see column H is reducing.
Let's see, what is this?
Bringing back eliminating
Oh.
on Board of Accessories.
So would Katie, the accountant, be considered accounting department assistant?
Mhm.
Because if she is, then she's under the union.
No, she's assistant town accountant.
Okay, whatever accounting department, okay,
Right.
whatever that is.
I was gonna say very similar to the treasurer. The treasurer has a contract.
Okay,
And heads the department, and then the others are in the union
Okay.
reporting to her.
yes,
Okay, now, can we skip down to this one? 108.
And then that's professional purchase services.
Professional and purchase services on 108.
Mhm.
And then 109 is other purchase services. So do we have a breakdown of what they actually are? Those services? Because last time we asked, we said, oh, that's a guardian and that's,
Mhm.
okay, cool. But what are they actually doing? Because we also have another person doing, kind of running.
Yeah,
$3,000, I think. it was.
Yeah, the 33,
So
75.
the running
So
interference,
Right, it's kind of like keeping our hours down for Guardian, because the contract for Guardian is 40 hours a month of support time.
for $160,000 a year.
No, it's kind of like, it's for everything. They
Do we have a
run,
breakdown on that?
we can ask for it, we get the contract,
I think it would be
that we
good.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again,
Hmm.
last year we asked for it, this year we'll ask for it again.
Oh, we didn't get it when we asked for it last year?
What's that?
The contract for Guardian.
Actually, to
I
separate.
think it's,
hardware
did I
from
print it?
software, because we're paying Guardian for Microsoft licenses.
Mm-hmm.
And so they, on a monthly basis, so that just gets to look at everything we have.
Well, I just think we should take a look at it as FinCom.
Oh, maybe I didn't print that one out. They're all, I printed all the
They cover
contracts,
all the contracts. that you
except for
can
that
I
one.
don't know, oh,
I don't think I have that one, but I printed all the contracts I
find. So
could find.
that's the big one, that monthly contract is for 40 hours. They will do our whole network. When we have new equipment coming in, they prepare the network. They prepare it to be loaded and integrated safely into the network. When we added the new printers, obviously, into the network, they set them up, make sure that they have the right
oh, do you have a question?
security software.
So, given the amount of people that we have and given the amount of that contract,
Mhm.
couldn't we have a person and actually have a person that can do the websites for the entire town? Because as you were mentioning last time, I know the library is self-contained, but we have other little websites going on and other departments paying web. It just seems alarming for the amount of computers and the amount of web installations or
Yeah.
printer installations that we could have somebody there to do those things. Again,
Um,
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Anybody qualified would probably be in that range for a single salary.
Right, and again, web and web maintenance is different than security and security maintenance and that, so there's a lot of different,
Web is a different contract.
yeah, the web is a
Just
contract
saying,
under,
I
yeah.
can install my own stuff, my own security, do my own
Mhm.
printers and do my own website, so maybe there's somebody.
I think if we saw what there was there, we could
Mhm.
make an intelligent decision.
It
Right,
just might be
and-
something.
No.
Yeah,
it's
a lot,
kinda like
a lot.
We've had lots of questions about that, they offer round the clock support, and so if you're, I don't know if you're gonna get that when you hire somebody.
Oh, yeah, but you,
And it's probably, I talked about being a person that runs the IT department and probably a tech with them. So it would probably be a two-person hire, not
we
one.
don't much over that.
Did they do the PD and fire too?
No, PD and fire do their own.
So PD, fire, and library all do their own.
Correct. Yeah.
So why wouldn't we hire one to do everybody in town?
I don't know.
No,
We
that's,
don't know the
I
answer.
mean,
That's a question we
Yeah.
should be looking into. Okay, so, now I have another one, 265. I 150% don't understand it. Maybe you talked about it before, but it says police other stipend certificate Quinn Prince. And then
Yeah.
it was 25, 80,000, and then it was 117. What happened? It's a jump.
that is, I don't know why it took such a large jump.
But then it says proposed cut was the 117.
It's still, yeah,
So they're taking
And
it
it's
away.
still hot.
no, it's still no, that's just saying with the proposed cuts, this line is going nowhere. It's staying,
Oh.
it's not highlighted yellow to be a cut or
Okay.
increase. It's sitting in here.
Oh, so then we need to know why did it jump so much?
I think we should be asking that question,
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah,
Dave?
Dawn, can I answer that question?
You can, because I know you're liaised with them too. Yeah.
If you remember, when we looked at the police department salary, Lieutenant Peach, everything was fit into one line for him. And we requested at one of our joint meetings that Chief Sartell split that out so that it was only salary on Lieutenant Peach's line. We did this in a joint meeting. All of you were there. And so if you look at the pages that you have in your notebooks for the lieutenant, you will see numbers for all of these other things. After that request, those items were split out into the appropriate categories in the police line items. And that is the reason for those increases. Thank you.
So is Quinn a person or is that a thing?
Quinn is
The law.
The Quinn bill.
Oh, Quinn bill, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Quinn bill went away.
Oh,
It was
okay.
an education incentive that was given to law enforcement, and it went away, and some communities kept it, and I was just reading the contract to see whether we kept it or not, because I had the same question
Mhm.
as to why it went from 80 to 117.
Right, and again, that was, it was as.
So do we keep it?
Well,
I believe we have kept.
We have
we
kept,
maintain the Quinn for the people that had it, but it is not a law anymore. The Quinn bill went away.
Oh, I see. Okay, so we don't have to
We
keep it.
continue to pay an incentive to our police officers who have achieved different levels of college degrees in law enforcement or criminal justice and related fields.
Oh, I see.
The state used to reimburse us, but they don't do that anymore.
Oh, yeah, the state doesn't do a lot.
Right, but then should be accurately reflected that the lieutenant's salary
is adjusted down, to compensate for that
Right.
move.
so is his delta
It
the
should be more transparent.
$37,000 more than $100 that's there?
Carol, you have the contracts there. If you look at the police contract, this is something that is bargained and it is in the police contract and has been as far as I've seen those contracts.
It's fine, but typically it would just be footnoted,
Right.
just say what it is.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
It's still nice.
The number that we had in the worksheet for the stipend certification line item was 90,000.
Mhm.
So it's gone up 27. His salary was listed at 120 and that's gone down to 100.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
So it's reduced more.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dave.
But it actually hasn't.
Yeah,
Right,
we added 27,000 to one line item. Okay, yeah, you're right. We added, 17,000. No, 20,000,
No.
27,000.
Yeah.
There's
90,
37 that got added to the Quinn.
no, it's 20,000
So,
from the original FY 26 request. No, I'm not talking about the 25 number. I'm talking about the
You
original.
have to look at it from a citizen's perspective. If a citizen looks at the salary of the
Mhm.
lieutenant, it looks, the 26 request looks like 100,000. But there is, appears now from this discussion, 37,000 that is in the Quinn. Which if that's his contract, that's fine, just footnote it so people know.
right, it's kind of like, and again, rather than straight salary,
I think
all the other Quinn lines
for all the other officers that get it,
was on that line, and we asked the chief to move it from the salary
for
line.
all of the police
For
officers.
all the police officers, including Lieutenant Peach, instead of being included in his salary, we asked it to be on a separate line. So that we have salary specifically and then.
Okay, this doesn't tell us what police officers. I had to
So
get it.
it probably would have
No,
been better to have the salary, the basic salary, and then a line underneath saying if he got
Mhm.
Quinn with that, so that you know exactly how much each person's actually getting.
Right,
Right,
Whereas-
and that's how it was, when we have the detailed lines, we have their salary plus their stipends,
Okay,
and Lieutenant Peaches had it all in one
I
line.
remember him. being
yeah,
on
a
one line.
line,
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't
and I remember
what
that,
officer
yeah,
it was, but I remember that there
Yeah.
was one officer.
yeah.
And we had questioned why he was different and.
Okay, so Lieutenant Peach is the lieutenant here.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's only one lieutenant salary.
okay. So then the police department has the salary of the wages and operating staff, all Okay. Operating staff, those, is that administrative? That's administrative, right? That's not officers on the
No,
street.
that's the officers. The
Oh.
support staff on 259 is, the office,
And the admin.
the
Okay.
admin, yeah.
And the 904 is the officers on the cars. Yeah. So training and overtime,
Reggie, did you say something about the price?
no, I didn't get to that yet, but I was saying the officers in the cruisers. I didn't get there. If you wanna jump ahead, that's fine with me.
No, there was just in one document, it said, figure of 90 something for. the-
Yes, for 4 of them.
Yeah,
Where is
and then
that?
another one, all right, as long
Yeah.
as you say.
Okay,
Oh, the four
So
cruisers,
we-
that's down on 284,
okay.
if you're looking for the cruisers.
Jump into cruisers.
Okay, we can jump to cruisers.
New
Is that
equipment.
what you had a question?
I don't wanna be involved in any conversations that involve motor vehicles.
Maybe, I think that's a bill we have to pay for the leases.
I think so.
Right, so it started with, there was 95,000.
What was it, 24?
It was 284, was
284,
it's the cruises, the
new
leases.
equipment, yeah. Listed as new equipment.
102, 520. One for 47, oh, okay, so,
So it's a long story, so we'll try to make it short. Up through FY 25, they had, or in FY 25, they had budgeted 95,000, so you'll see that in column E. So at the May meeting, we budgeted and voted 95,000 for the chief to sign a new lease. When we got to the special town meeting in August, the chief said, I can delay my leases for 6 months.
I remember this, okay.
And when he delayed it, we put half of the month, thinking it was a 6 month and it should have been 7, but
Okay,
that's why it went to 47.5. So that he would be able to sign a half-year lease. Because he delayed the lease, the
Mhm.
price went up from 95 to 102, 520. So that's
oh,
why.
for the deferred interest, okay.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
deferred
Yeah,
changes in
I get
prices.
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so when he went out to get the new lease, it jumped from the 95 to the 102, so that delay was an additional 7,520.
Now, are these cars that we have now that are on the road?
I believe, yes, we have them now, because he went out and got them in the December.
So we're not gonna be buying any more new police cruisers, correct?
No, not for a bit, these leases will run out, and we'll do a new lease when he's ready for the next set of 4 cruisers.
How many cruisers do we have total? Just the
It's a
4?
secret, yeah.
It is.
We don't wanna give away how much, what people know. I don't know, I think it's gotta be, I would
More
think.
it's gotta be more than
It's more than 4.
It's more than 4.
And do you have a clue?
I don't know how many he has now.
I just, so the lease terms are staggered, so he doesn't have, so they're not all
They're
dropping
not all
off at
dropping
once.
the same time, yeah, because he's got to keep enough new equipment and the equipment on the road. I know discussions have been electric, but, that's.
Oh, God, I
Electric
hope not.
cars?
Electric,
Cruises, oh, please don't do that.
Why not?
Yeah, they are.
yeah, they more and more are going toward it,
They
so.
wanna
I mean, the town is not so big.
Statewide. This is a
Well, I guess,
statewide, nationwide.
yeah.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh, well, whatever, then I'd be Tesla, but they're probably the best, I
They
think.
won't be Tesla.
Good. What would they be? Ford
So,
never went anywhere except into a stone wall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure companies have been working, just like they do for getting equipment approved for.
All I
anyway.
know is my next door neighbors, it takes 12 hours to
The charges.
charge his
Can you
little
imagine?
car.
Mm.
And it's not a fully electric car either, it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
And it takes 12
I
hours
was
to
gonna
charge
say
it.
that the technologies are changing. It's been like they're,
yeah,
doing
horse to
quicker-
car.
quicker. Yeah.
Can we jump to 397?
397.
I did my homework.
Building inspector professional services.
It went from 4,000 to,
It went from 4,000 if we actually look, it went to 16 on the, Saturday on the budget summit, and it's been gone from 16 down to 12.
What line?
Okay, so that's not helping.
Okay, well,
$397.
this is the whole picture. What was it, when they originally gave us their budgets in January, and
Oh,
we reviewed them in February, it was 16,000.
oh, so they came down 4.
They came down 4 that you see here, and, but again, this is all about the software licenses that, or the software, the fees we're paying for the building inspector permits. So they dropped this by 4, but our revenue had to drop by the corresponding 4,000. Because this is all based, this is a net zero on this line, and again,
On 397?
on 397,
Was that the permanently?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the
Permit link?
permanent.
yeah, permanently.
Right, so that's the one where every dollar that comes in basically goes out. So-
Not every, it's kind
Or-
of like, for every permit that comes in, $10 is put in a kitty that has to be paid to Permalink.
Right,
So if we're saying Permalink is getting $12,000, well, that's 12,000 and it had been 16. Well, we said we're gonna get that amount in building permit revenue that we have to pay out. So if you're decreasing it to 12, we also have to decrease
the revenue,
the revenue by that corresponding amount.
right.
It's kind of like, yeah,
I
it's
totally
kind of,
don't get that.
so
I mean, I just don't get that. So they bring the money in.
they're bringing the money in and it goes into the general fund
Okay,
and that money goes in. And then based on the number of permits that we issue,
okay,
Permalink sends us a bill or an invoice
for X.
for,
So we increased our amount of building permits by whatever they.
it was relatively new. This was a new
Oh,
service. that came online. So
Okay.
professional services had been 4170. We've now gone totally live with Permalink.
Okay, all right, I see.
And those are the pieces. So
Okay,
this,
Got it.
this reduced by 4,000 when you look at the budget that we saw on March 1st. But again, that's 4,000 less to offset on revenue.
right,
So we have to make sure when we look at this recap sheet, that line is, the line indicating that revenue is gonna be 4,000 less.
okay, so this is a weird question, but.
Yeah.
How does that work with new growth? Because didn't you tell us that the new growth was based on building permits?
It's not just the permits, it's the actual finishing of the project and
Okay.
getting reassessed
Okay, so,
by the assessor.
all right, so decreasing it is arbitrary.
Yes, it's arbitrary.
Okay.
Because this is strictly permit revenue versus
Okay.
permit.
This is a wish list. Okay,
Right.
yeah, I'm beginning to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else? Oh, I think I'm at the end of my rope. Oh, I guess I was a little curious about $30,000 police training, but I suppose they need that. 'Cause-
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll give them that.
Well, there's a story there.
They're,
Oops.
Okay.
I was gonna say somebody in the business.
very, very much in favor of police training.
Okay.
I
I'm
did
not
have
in
the,
favor of this particular one.
I did have the opportunity to speak with the chief and let him know that through the international chiefs, there is opportunity that I hope that he'll be able to avail himself of between now and town meeting. He is a member, he does go to the conference. He did go online when we were chatting. It's free, and it's automatic, it's not competitive. So if he needs the escalation training, use of force training, if he needs a policy written, there's exchanges you could do, peer exchange, and all he has to do is ask. They'll write it up for him, they can do it. So it was done before he became chief here. They did crisis intervention training, regional base, it was done in Townsend and Pepperell. For the 40 hours training, it came for free. And so whatever he needs, he can ask for. Once he does that one program, he can ask for the next one. So that's through a CRITAC program. There's one called Elevate Blue that he can do. There's 3 online now that are already post certified. So he can do that one. We went through Bureau Justice Training and Technical Assistance Center. that he can request training for as well. So hopefully he will be able to get into that cycle. It's all free, it is all automatic, and there's also a scholarship program that he can apply for to decrease for training and conferences.
And he's agreed to
I mean,
look it up.
When we were on the phone,
Mhm.
he immediately went and looked.
Okay.
So hopefully he will be able to
And
do
this
that.
$30,000 would added onto the police department budget over and above what Chief Sartell wanted. The Board of Selectmen told at a budget forum about 3 or 4 years ago that they wanted to add $30,000 to his budget just because it's hard to take money away. Once you give it, it's harder to take it away, so they wanted to add it on, just so that he would have the extra $30,000 for training. But he did not want it, but he took it because
Well, of
they were
course.
forcing him to take it.
Who
And
wouldn't?
that's all on video from the budget summit from about 2022.
That's interesting.
And I'm grateful for that, but he was very receptive to try to look at
Mm.
alternatives.
Well, I'm sure
Sure,
he's
yeah,
turning
yeah,
down money,
yeah.
but
That's
she
good to
said
know.
at that meeting, but he was not asking for it, and it was actually forced on him despite the fact that we were having budget crisis back then.
I'm sure we were, because these don't happen overnight.
And that has been, it's interesting to me that 30,000 has maintained as a separate line item. Not just in basic, in training budget, it's a separate.
Separate training, well,
$30,000.
that's what,
And I mean, to me, it tells me that if he's keeping that separate so that, it's not money that he wanted.
that was my question, because 283 and 261 were 30 for training, 2 times, and I thought maybe it was a mistake, but you're saying no, okay.
That was the money that was shoved down his throat by Brian Hill in 2022.
Oh, there you go, okay. No cuts.
We got
So-
that.
Do we have the history of, did he actually use any of that?
Um,
Or, because if he doesn't use it, it goes into free cash the next year once it's certified, right?
so let me, again, I haven't had a recent one, but we can at least do what December said.
Why do uniforms cost $19,000?
I don't know.
All the fancy,
Oh, for the police? Oh, yeah, they wear those bulletproof vests,
they look like little mutant ninja turtles.
yeah, they got the big hats.
I thought they were.
All the fancy vests.
I have no problem with police.
How many-
Highway, and fire. The
But
rest-
it's expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But
you need a new one every year?
They expire.
Maybe.
Hmm,
They do
maybe
expire.
What?
they expire.
Expire.
The ballistics.
Yeah, bullets get, worn out too.
So,
Okay,
$30,000 line was overdrawn by 2,000.
Oh, we use it.
Mm,
Are you sure it's that line?
Well, it's the 30,000.
This is another 30,000.
5780.
Okay, so this one is 5125.
Yeah.
It's a long budget number.
5780. Oh, no, okay, so for 24, they basically used both lines.
Okay,
283,
So, I mean, I found the number because in the BBA for 24, you don't have the
we don't
spreadsheet.
have that.
260.
We don't have spreadsheet lines, we just have the BBA.
Yep.
So for both,
Oh,
so I looked at
260.
both things and and one they actually spent more than,
Mhm.
one they spent 99% of it.
Okay, and what's the other one? I got 5125.
5780 is the other one,
Other
Okay.
charges training. Yeah.
yeah.
So he's using
And
it.
that will- yeah,
Okay.
right. And again, there were new hires and so there was.
But they can't use that for new hires, can they?
No, they, new hires get trained.
They,
Oh.
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah. Then they spent money at the police academy or something.
Academy,
Yeah,
yeah.
remember that
But
conversation?
that's good that they now know that there's another option.
right, exactly.
That's good news. This is why we should be collaborating all year long with
With other
citizens
people.
who know and with the
Right,
department
this-
heads. I mean,
right.
it's 11,000 is like, huge.
I'll tell you one thing, this is the first decent paper I've seen since we started this last fall.
Well,
I
I bet
got
you it's
this
gonna
book here that's
change
full of-
by Friday.
Yeah,
Well, I know, but
Oh, you mean?
because it's, all you gotta do is burn this and reprint a new copy, as
Right.
we make the changes,
Hey,
it
Dawn.
flows, it's
Yeah.
functional.
On
This
the
thing in
Zoom,
here
there's a
has
Sean
letters,
with the
as
line,
lines so
that's
small, I
the
can't read them with my
same
glasses.
oh,
I don't know if you're taking questions from the Zoom audience, but Sean Gallant
Thank you.
has got his hand raised.
Sean, did you wish to be heard? Sean, go on. We're showing your hand raised. Are you looking to speak?
Can you hear us?
He's
Oh,
muted.
sorry. I was trying to figure out how to unmute.
I know, it's not easy.
It's my first time even on one of these meetings, so I'm trying to kind of get used to the lay of the land on it, so I apologize. On that, you were saying that there was $30,000 that was kind of listed twice, if you will. And one of the comments brought up on it was that the possibility of that at one point in time, it was kind of forced on them. Is it possible that while, yes, it's being spent, that has anybody spoken with them to find out, is it one of those, we're spending it in a use it or lose it reasoning versus needing to spend it?
Good question. We
Good
did,
question,
when
yeah.
the chief was in, we did a lot of meetings with all department heads in February. And the police chief let us know that, there were new officers hired, and he did use the money this year, and he was gonna overspend it, but because he had extra money in his line for the police officers, we would be able to transfer and take it out. But this year may be extraordinary, and somebody in the room is also in that business, I guess you call it, and has recommended that there are potential for some free training, that for no cost training that may help him in the future not need those $30,000 lines.
Okay.
Hope that is that clear?
That was good for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for your question.
Thanks, and thanks for picking up on that. It's kind of like when I'm sharing, I don't see that.
I've got the Zoom on there. I'll bet you.
Okay. Okay, so we had done the questions, and Mary Jane, you're all set with.
Yeah, actually, that's the end of my questions. Maria.
okay.
For
And
now.
for now.
For now, yeah.
Okay,
There's a lot of information in there.
I just had a question.
Yeah.
On line 570, which is the curbside pickup and trash.
Oh, Dave.
We're line number, please.
570.
570.
Towards the back.
Yeah, it's towards the
Solid
end.
waste curbside pickup and
See, it's the note there says FY 26 pending 480K revenue. That costs 300K. So I'm assuming they're basing their revenue, the 480K, on the purple bags and selling $40,000 a month of purple bags, which I know they're not selling $40,000 a month of purple bags.
Yes, now.
That they are. I have some figures that are less than
Oh,
that.
did you have it? Oh, really? Okay.
And
where'd you get your figures?
Yeah.
Just saying.
From the accountant.
Oh, from Katie.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, if the revenues, actually, where's my phone? I mean, it's possible, depending on, I'd like to see the February numbers. If the February numbers are up, then okay, then I'll go with that.
what was the number?
Do you know that Ashby is charging $7 for their bags?
Are they?
Yep, I went
Good,
online.
I've already proposed 750 per bag.
750?
Yeah.
If I could find
Dave,
it.
what did you want?
Five.
I
5?
thought 5 would work.
I think we should raise the price of
Hmm.
it. So that we don't need to get trashed into an override situation. We should
Yeah.
charge, and I think the townspeople would go along with that. Because I don't think, if somebody does the math, to take that
Oh.
extra couple $100,000 and apply it to figure out how many purple bags do we need to, how much can we add on to that, so that it's one type of funding, not 3.
Right.
That the purple bags, if they need to cost, I don't think,
It
7 might be
can-
too high, because it would double, and I don't think we need to double.
It
But
takes,
6, I mean, if we need to charge 6, I think the townspeople, of course, some people will complain.
Yeah.
But not everybody. The people that like the purple bags, that are still within a reasonable number of them, would embrace it rather than losing trash.
yeah,
You know,
if we
I-
have to go out and get our own trash,
Mm.
it could probably cost me twice as much.
Yeah,
To have them, and can I go out and say, I only wanna see you twice, twice a month? Is that a possible contractual thing? No, you gotta come by weekly, thanks a lot. There are so many troubles.
Accept a higher bag.
Yeah, no,
Both bags?
I know that
Yeah, both bags,
it's not hard to keep within a reasonable 50% or so of what you have to do if you have to get your own private collector. So yes, it's a pain, it's costly, I don't wanna see it doubled. But personally, it's doubling the cost of the bag still is a lot cheaper for me as a farm owner, homeowner.
Yeah.
Small business, whatever you wanna
I
call
think-
me.
So it's 375 per bag now,
Right.
right?
350.
350.
Oh, 350.
350
Okay.
and 225.
Yeah.
That's a small.
So I would say, I mean,
Mhm.
all right, I would like to make a motion.
Dave, yes.
Okay,
Right,
you're gonna make a
okay,
motion?
Carol.
Okay, all right, what's your motion?
Just so the townspeople know that based on facts, so, the initial impact for trash, 600,000 a year. If it had stayed just on the levy, would have been, 15 million, but because of the override and the impact of the compounding, it's over 21 million. So we've been trying to ask people, like, what's the difference? Could we save money? Could we get it out of the levy by doing an increase or a fee or something? And that's why coming to FinCom to ask you guys, just letting the voters know that, yes, it might be a little more of an increase here, but getting it out of the compounding is so much more of a value from them. And as you pointed out, Mr. Grant, to not pay private, like, we need to get those numbers. So I'm just so excited that you guys are going to make that motion. So I just wanted the taxpayers to know what the numbers were. So they could
Right,
hear
I mean, I think,
that.
I would like to make the motion that we recommend raising the bag costs to $5 for the large bags and $4 for the small bags per bag.
I did like to see some numbers to back that up and how much it's gonna
Yeah, I
cover
think
the,
doing the formula because you don't wanna undercut yourself. $5 might not be enough.
yeah.
Well, I'm
It
not
depends on what
necessarily looking to cover it all, I'm looking to
Well,
increase,
you can cover it all, if you do that, and have a little bit of a buffer.
Well,
You
but-
don't wanna undercut it, cause then we are short on the budget.
We're not trying to cover the town's
We're not-
trash.
well, no, I'm looking,
No.
this is a way, but if we do this again, it would be a way to reduce the override amount.
Yes,
And so I'm not necessarily looking to eliminate the override amount, but
Yeah,
this would be a way
well,
to,
yeah, you do, cause the town may vote no on the override.
well, then
So get trash out
I
of
would
the,
get trash
get
out
trash
of the,
completely out of the
I
override.
I wanna stick with 5 and 4. I don't wanna jump too far now.
Well, you've got numbers.
Four might be a bit much on that.
Take the number and add another,
Well, let's see.
Well, it's,
dollar.
5 and 4.
Because 550 might be a better number, I mean.
5 and 4?
350, doubling it doesn't sound like we're
No.
only half.
Where did I lose it?
I don't know about anybody else.
I mean, you can do
It
the
is.
formula.
Yeah, well-
I didn't have time to do it today, or I would have done it.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't know about anybody else, but not all of us, but some of us have been increasing normally in our incomes. We've had inflation go up, individually 20% or so over the last 5 years. That's I'm going by the price of grain and hay personally, because that's where I do have an eye on what's happening. And it is going up 20% plus. And the town is a part of who we are. Our property, not only do they own it, they, through the taxes, but our property is part of this town. And our property taxes the town is constantly restricted, and the schools, whatever, are constantly restricted to a 2.5% increase, regardless of what happens to inflation. And so we need to definitely keep that into consideration if we want good roads or decent roads. I don't even care if they're really good, but when the potholes get bad enough, we can't, strangle Jim and saying, why haven't you fixed this thing? Because you can't fix it. I don't have the funds for it. And that's, one thing. The trash is a problem. It's been a problem, but we're working together as a community. We'll do a much better job than trying to have to do it individually.
So
Okay.
the current price for the large bag, you said is $3.50?
It's $3.50 per
Okay,
bag.
because I thought it was $3.75.
No,
It's $17.50 a roll.
Five
So,
bags.
five
Okay.
bags.
What is it for the small bags?
$2.25 a piece.
$2.25?
So I have thrown up,
Are you gonna do the math right now in front of us?
Well,
What
I'm
do you
gonna
mean?
do a little bit of it.
Okay, good.
so
Yeah,
at 3.5,
he's
at 40,000, basically it's 11,428 bags a month. So that's your 480.
Well, but
So if you
Okay.
go to 5, it increases the revenue to 57,000 a month for a total of 685.
right, but we don't have necessarily the ratio of small bags to large
I
bags.
don't have that. We only have
No.
one.
We only have the one number,
Yeah,
right,
we only have
40,000.
one
Mean
number.
average.
Right, and so, and so,
But if we do 6 and 3, and those are the numbers, it's kind of like, that would equate, using the 40,000, do $6 per bag,
well,
and revenue is 800.
from 350 to 5 is a 42% increase in the
Yeah,
cost of
it
the
is.
bag.
Yeah.
So you so you got the 57 by doing that, right?
I did.
Okay.
But now just doing the bags, and the fact that, the small bags are half the size of the big bags, just even, do that to 3, but yeah, so it's kind of like, so if we did $6 a bag, you're getting roughly 68,000 a month, and it's gonna be 822 for the year.
Really?
Yeah,
A variable, but
okay.
No, I get it. No,
There's
yeah.
gonna be variance. This is
No, I understand.
this is based strictly on
So
a
you-
revenue number divided by 350 a bag.
Right,
It's kind of
Right.
like,
right, because we know nothing. We just have this. Yeah,
we
no,
know
I know.
about 40,000.
I know claim.
We could reduce that number. And you said it's what, 37,000?
What?
What you thought it was a little lower than the 40,000 a month.
Okay, so for the month of October, they only have 3 months worth. The month of October, it was $25,909. So the month of December, October was 25,909. Then it went to November, spiked to 53,208. And then for December, it went down to 29,516. And they don't have any more
So you don't have
numbers.
January and February.
No.
And are those the amount of bags sold, or is that the amount of
Yeah.
Well,
revenue?
that's the amount of
That's the
money.
amount of revenue.
Money, yeah.
Well, remember, in December, they started with the little bags. Up
Right,
until
but
that
No, the
time.
big bags,
it's kind of like, it
was it
doesn't matter because we don't know the ratio of
big bags to little bags?
We only know what.
We only had big bags when they started.
Yeah.
The little bags didn't come in until
Oh,
January.
January, I thought it was
Yeah.
December 1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Right, so, well, there you go. There's $800,000 right there. So make
So-
some issues.
roughly, it's
So,
going to
okay.
$6 a bag for the big bags and $3 a bag for.
6 and 3?
Well, I would say, no, I would
No,
say,
okay.
I would still like to go to 4 on the small bags.
yeah. 6 and
So
4.
let's say 6 and 4.
6 and 4?
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Okay, so that's your motion.
So my motion is to increase the bag fee from to $6 for a large bag and $4 for a small bag. Starting
Yeah, when?
in
FY.
for FY 26. So we don't,
July
So
1.
so you're gonna drive up the bag purchase at the end of this year.
that's okay.
Yeah,
I'll-
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's fine.
That's
That's
okay.
fine.
That's
I'll-
all. It's
That's okay.
kind of like.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're right. It'll drive up the bag purchase at the end of the year, which will just go into free cash next year and we'll be able to use it by
He
the end
loves
of
free
the.
cash, that's his thing. Dave's a free
Free
cash.
cash is nothing more than buying a CD, a 12-month
I
CD.
know, but I'm just saying,
yeah, okay,
I
all right,
like it.
all right.
that,
so-
that's my, that is my
Okay, is
that
that
is
the
my
final,
motion.
is that the final answer? Six and,
I
6 and
second,
4.
I
6 and 4.
second,
Yeah.
6 and 4, I second the motion.
Okay, final answer. Okay.
Do we have, any- do we
Oh,
need further discussion or?
Can I just
Um,
ask for clarity, does that take it all out of the tax levy or just?
No.
some of it, Dawn? How does that work?
$6, it won't take it out of the tax, this is, the revenue that we'll be getting is estimated about 800, let's round down $800,000, because the whole driver for pay as you throw is is have that.
Right.
It's kind of like, so it's, you know, are we chasing, you know, right now, I don't think we're chasing, of falling off, something that's fallen off the cliff. But that would be, say, 800,000, and so that would cover the 780, and you don't want to go too much higher.
Right.
Than what your contract is, but. it
So
gives
that
us-
would take it off the tax levy.
Well, it's
Effectively, it's not, I mean, it's
a
still,
wash, because this is revenue coming into general fund, and we're gonna pay the town can't pay a bill unless it's in the
Right.
budget.
But we are not going to put it in the override. Well,
this should increase the town revenue, which should reduce the required amount for the override.
Yeah.
right,
right,
because
Okay.
right now it's in the override, which means it would compound.
Right,
next year.
right.
So
So,
if you all figure this out and make your recommendation
Yeah.
at town meeting, which is after the vote, which
Mhm.
I'll
Right.
state again, people did not want, so hopefully people don't vote for it, we can fix this at town meeting.
Mhm.
And then all of you wizards fixed it, got it off of the override, but it will still be revenue for the town to pay the contract. But it won't multiply next year, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
well, it would
I
reduce,
don't know.
it would reduce the overall amount of the override. It probably doesn't
It
eliminate.
it, but
It
if you
doesn't-
take the 300,
Right,
It's here.
it takes.
And
You
take
can
the
eliminate
plus
the
or minus
portion of the
120.
override that is trapped.
right,
I
Effectively,
recommend that.
effectively, yes, but I mean, I don't think the override cuts it down that
but
fine.
it
I
brings
think,
it, if you
No,
get
the
rid of
override-
120 that we talked about, plus or minus, you take up this 300 plus or minus, you're somewhere around 220.
right. Right, it should reduce the amount of the override proportionally.
Right.
Mhm.
Which is what
The
the
selectmen are
citizens
separating
were
it as they actually functionally do the budget. That if there's a plan that the selectmen will buy into and you guys buy into and the townspeople buy into, to say that this trash is not gonna go anywhere because we're raising the price of the triple bags, so it's not, then this should not, whatever happens with the override is not going to, we have to end, we didn't get an override, so we're getting rid of trash. That we're taking it off.
It should alleviate the
The
need for that.
conversation, so that the selectmen can't say, we're not doing trash because the override didn't pass, even though we rose the price of the purple bags. If we raise the price of the purple bags, everybody, the townspeople, the selectmen, and everybody should be able to see that trash is not impacted by an override passing or not.
Right,
That other areas of the town, because you can't use trash fees to fund up, to provide
Right.
revenue for other departments. It's
Right.
illegal.
right,
Correct.
Right, and that's the
So,
thing, right now
If
it's
we
going. to
cut,
general
if we
fund.
make it, if we break it even with the price of purple bags does pay fully for the cost of that trash contract for residential trash, then there should not be any conversation about there's no trash if we don't pass an override.
Not only that, but if
And again, I mean.
everybody learns that it costs me this much,
There's enough.
then I might
If
think
another
about
person speaks up.
compacting my trash before I put it out on the curb in the first place.
Right.
And there's a possibility that once we've covered all our trash contract, that, we might even be able to reduce the cost of the bags in the future, even though inflation's going up,
Absolutely.
use is going down.
Absolutely. So this really begs the question of, you all have been wonderful of allowing me and others to come talk and have a conversation. Where we can't in some venues talk and have a conversation, but the goal is to put forth the most palatable budget for the community members. It's doing an override with these discussions and really having that with the community, which we can do at a town meeting and no other venue. I think having a really good plan, you're always great with numbers, and what you do before, right? You whiz them out, you guys can do that. And really explaining it, so we're not taking away a service, we're actually doing a benefit, we're not putting it in the override, so that you're not paying this year and compounding it, because we can show that trash, that computation of how much the original trash cost people, and how much it's escalated on our tax bill. If we target the bags, it's still going to the same reason, right, the same service, but it's outside the tax levy. If we can drive that number down and not affect our long-term employees or services. Like if I can, had a great conversation, like I said, with the police chief, if he can go and even get one training that saves him $5,000, $5,000, right? It's that cooperative spirit. He was fantastic to talk to, like I said, right on. If that saves a little bit and this saves a little bit, and we can get that number down by May 6th to the best that it can be. And not everything is gonna work. Like I'm not Pollyanna, neither is everybody else that's trying, but it's like, let's try everything. And you guys just had a great conversation in a way that could get that number down to something reasonable that I think people will say, you all did great work to really look at that in a sensitive way to our employees and to our taxpayers. It's reasonable. I don't know how you get that ballot to go away.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
the
it's kind of-
the reason the
probably
ballot is
doesn't.
before the town meeting is because it's the same vote where we're electing a new selectman. That
But
has to be before the town meeting. We have had our override votes in June before. Well, that's because of the override.
That's another $6,000 out of the budget.
There's
It
lots
does,
of things,
but-
there's lots of things with timing of overrides and votes and all of that. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, and you have to have two, you have to have a ballot, you have to have the special town meeting. The vote, it's kind of like of a quorum of the town.
And in our straw poll shows statistically that it's not going to pass, putting it before the town meeting and all of that, unfortunately.
And, yeah, and again,
Is it not possible to have a large amount, comparatively speaking, pass on the ballot without taking it all?
Once
It-
it has to be the same. You can't change it.
right, yeah, the
It's
ballot is
not like,
printed with.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand, I'm just trying to save $6,000 on another trip into town.
Yeah, it's not like the warrant, we can put it on the warrant and then adjust it at town meeting. Once it's on the ballot, that's it.
And whatever number they came up with yesterday is definitely going on that.
Sure.
So that
Yeah.
we, so
Actually, they
that,
can, I
No, no,
know they
no.
can change it till tomorrow.
so we can recommend no. And I mean, if we took a vote and we recommended no as a board, we would put that out at the meeting.
I don't know if that is something, we've never taken a position on something that's on a ballot. It kind of, recommendations at town meeting and warrants is
Yeah.
one thing, telling people how to vote.
Telling.
You're not, it's the
No, you're
budget,
recommending.
it's the budget.
But again,
You could
you're-
recommend anything, anytime you want, as a
I-
FinCom, you're representing the people, not anybody else.
Because it's the budget, you're recommending right now that the budget is funded through a trash bag fee and not a tax levy.
Mhm.
The ballot is recommending that the trash be paid
the
for.
300,000 of the
A levy.
trash.
Yeah,
Right.
so
We have to think about
That
this.
doesn't know how to
Yeah.
vote.
We have to think about
I
this.
gotta go watch the video to see what
We'll
they,
watch it, yeah,
yeah.
but we did, the language, I guess, is very important, because you don't wanna get in trouble legally. But,
But we are not,
but I do think the taxpayers, I really believe, and just for point of clarification, everybody at this table is a numbers person. I'm totally not. I'm looking at it as the taxpayer. What are you doing with this money? And I think that that's why we can have conversations, because we're coming from it, from a number and a human side. Instead of at each other's throats.
and that's, again, why I'm open to residents coming in, calling us.
I think you
questions.
can carry it.
We are the board that get to see all the details. If they have questions that we probably are likely to have answers for, it's there. This is, this is representative of the town. It's not,
Carol was
and that's why it's open for.
We're still discussing the motion, so we still have to vote on the motion then.
We have to
Yeah, we
vote.
have to vote on
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of like, sorry,
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Lots
Yep.
of discussion, trash is always gonna do that.
Absolutely, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's
I
okay,
will
I'm just,
throw out,
I saw her start putting papers away, I wanted to make sure we didn't
No,
lose
No,
that.
we have
yeah,
more,
no.
I have more to discuss, so
Yeah.
it's not, I just got a second.
I'm
word.
just,
I got a
I'm just
second word.
sorting paper. Oh, yeah, are we gonna vote?
if we
Are we
if
ready?
there is no more discussion on trash, we have a motion on the floor to recommend $6 for the large bag and $4 for the small bag.
Carol Hoff says yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Dave Walker, yes.
Mary Jane Churchville, yes.
Yes.
Passed.
And again, it's kind of like, it's our recommendation, the numbers are just strictly where they are, there's no
So,
thought of drop off, how many
Yeah.
people may go private with this. It's kind of like the numbers are only as good as the assumptions, and there's really not many here. We'd have to, look at, do we want to look at it a 10%?
well, so with the numbers that we did.
Yeah.
That's basically a 71% increase in the bag costs.
Right.
Mhm.
I took the three numbers that you gave us, that came out to basically summing it divided by 3, that's 36,000 a
Right.
month.
Yeah.
Adding 71% to that comes out to 61,000 a month. So that's basically, if we do charge the numbers that we're
Mhm.
saying, we should be getting
Mhm.
roughly $60,000 a month in bag revenue.
Times 12.
Plus or minus.
60,000, I just.
I mean, it's gotta be a plus or minus because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
one
I'm
5 bag
reducing it
is 2
to
months worth of
the
bags to me.
actual,
If you do have a drop off, if a lot
Yeah,
of
but
people
now
start to bail, and you
Then-
run into this number, it goes off, now, this bag fee is a flexible amount, it doesn't require a vote at town meeting. This is
right.
it can be
Okay.
done
Well,
within the town, so if you find ourselves in September, October, you go, uh-oh.
No, but
Too many people have gone up,
It's-
the revenues have dropped, and you can measure it.
Mm.
Not, like, right now, we haven't had this program long
Yeah,
enough to
yeah,
be
yeah.
really clear.
Yeah.
But if we find ourselves, October is a year in on this program, and if we see that the numbers have dropped off, and Shaw's is telling us, yeah, we've got 20% more contracts, okay, then in order to maintain the purple bags, if you need to raise the price again, that you do have that opportunity.
Right,
And I
well,
don't think we're gonna have a 20% drop off, so, but I mean, we
Yeah.
could have some drop off.
there'll probably be some, but
You
the
can
other,
raise it again if
well,
you
but the
have
other
to,
thing
it's
too
okay.
is if, I think this would also cover us going with the Shaw's contract where we pay the base number plus the tonnage
Right.
fees.
But
Because then if the numbers do drop, like you said, our tonnage fees will also drop, so
The selectmen
it should
don't wanna
balance
do that
out.
contract.
no,
They wanna
it's
do
kind of
that.
like,
I understand that.
and this is what we have to watch. If our trash,
And you can
goes-
recommend the other.
right, if the trash goes down, there's gonna be less purple bags being purchased, but our recycling is still being picked up. It's kind of like, and the tonnage with that is still gonna.
Right, but the trash tonnage should be going down, so that trash tonnage fee should also drop.
But it's the curbside collection, the base fee is still the highest number.
Right, but that base fee in that variable contract was like 300,000 or so.
Well, the base fee is fixed, right?
The base fee is fixed, yeah.
It's the tonnage or the tipping fee.
The
that's-
tipping fees, that's what I'm talking about. This number would also cover the variable tipping fees. And if the revenue drops because the number of bags drops, the tipping fee should also drop,
Right.
so it should balance out,
Typically,
is what I'm saying. So actually, I want to make a second motion
Okay.
that we recommend that we, for the trash contract, we recommend that we use the trash contract that included the variable tipping, the tipping fees
right,
separated out.
Contract separated out.
Yes,
Okay,
because we were presented with two possible
right, and
trash contracts. One was a fixed rate of $780,000,
no cost in your budget.
and one was a base cost, I think it was like around 300, and then tipping, a tipping fee per tonnage.
right.
Okay, so it's recommend using the trash contract with the variable tipping fee?
With the tipping fee, yeah. I don't know if it variable tipping fee is the right phrasing, if it should just be with the tipping fee separated out.
Tipping fee separated out?
Yeah, I think that's a better wording.
Oh,
Because
okay.
the tipping fee itself is not variable,
Right.
right? That tipping fee was
Well, it's a variable in an upward direction.
well,
as time goes on.
Yeah,
the final number is variable, but the fee.
but you want the contract with the separate tipping fee?
Right.
Right.
I second
That's
that
the
motion.
problem we had with the 5-year contract, is he could only tell you the tipping fee out a certain number, 3 years. And the collector out the other end wasn't gonna let you know what's gonna be that, the
Yeah.
4-year,
When they
five.
offered a 5-year contract, the tipping fees were only listed for the first 3.
Right,
Right.
And that-
because nobody could tell you ahead of time what they're gonna raise that to.
Well, this one's a 1 year, so it's not
So,
a,
yeah, well,
No,
oh, is this a 3
Three
year?
I
years?
think it's a,
I think it's a 3
This is a
year.
3 year, so we have the tipping fees for the 3 years. So yeah, this,
we did. It's
I,
got, and the
I,
recycling tipping fees are going up higher than the trash tipping fees.
yeah,
Year over year.
I know. Well, I think that's because most recycling winds up going into landfills anyway. It doesn't actually get recycled.
I know, if I go and wash all my cans and it probably still ends up in the.
Recycling is a waste of time.
It's all a moving target, the whole,
Yeah,
well,
it
if you
may
don't
come around.
recycle now and 90% goes in the trash, 100% goes to the trash, maybe eventually it'll get down to 75 and 50
Okay,
as people figure out how to make money out of it.
we're gonna vote on this?
Please.
Okay, so are we, another motion on the floor? Is anybody seconded?
Yes,
Yeah.
Mary Jane did.
Thank you.
Yep.
I missed it. There was a lot of conversation.
Okay, I got it.
Excuse me.
Are we ready to vote then?
Is any further discussion? on the
No.
Contract, okay, then being heard, a vote in the affirmative is to recommend that we go with the base rate with
Base rate.
fees, with the tipping fees.
Tipping fees.
Okay, so
Rather
base,
than a all-in
so
contract.
using the base rate with tipping fees.
Mhm.
Tipping,
Separate.
okay, separate tipping fee,
Right.
okay, great. All right, so you seconded, Carol
Yeah.
Hoff says yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Dave Walker, yes.
Mary Jane Churchill, yes.
Don Hayes, yes.
So the next thing, I want to ask a question on 649.
649.
So explain this, please. 25 was 73,631. 26 was 88,483. And what's FY 26, 56,478 proposed cut?
Okay, and then I lost myself, what was the number again? I got it.
The
Six
cut,
forty-nine, line 649.
649.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
what are we cutting? A staff member? I thought we weren't doing that at this time.
I think, did Veronica say there was one staff, was it, I don't know.
Did they leave? This is on
Council of Aging.
Council on Aging.
yes, the community service person, and I think they're gonna also cut, somebody in the food service, because they're cutting a meal out, and I think there's another little chip away at the food service people. Wellness,
Yeah, this-
Yeah.
So is this the wellness coordinator that we
No.
talked about?
Yeah.
20 pages ago?
yeah,
Then there was the kitchen
there's also a
person.
kitchen person, because they're cutting some of the meal stuff out, So if there is a person that is most
Okay.
likely already determined, they determined that in December because
Oh,
they lost some ARPA money.
oh, okay, got it. All right, so that was that, and then Council on Aging training. Oh, their equipment doubled. Did they buy something?
I think they bought us, did they buy a stove or something? What did I?
They bought a stove and sold a stove.
Oh, they bought us all, so, okay.
Yeah,
so
they
that's a
had they bought a stove and it wasn't what they needed, so they sold that they were planning to sell that in surplus.
Okay, so they need another,
And so they needed a stove that was
Okay, I
gonna fit their
understand.
purpose.
okay. And then what supplies are good. Okay, then we come to veterans. Ask Natalie, that's interesting. So it says veteran agent dues and training, and then it says ask Natalie in the notes.
Mhm.
Do we know what they're asking her?
We don't, but
Okay.
what's in the line.
Okay, wait a minute, let's see, was that,
In the library.
let me see, was that in the notes when we talked to
So-
her?
I don't think we got Natalie in the room.
We didn't,
Did we not have Natalie in?
she wasn't in the room.
Oh, okay. Why did I think she,
So the library is cutting.
oh, the library. What's the, you know, I'm concerned about them being cut, that they lose their
Yeah,
certification.
me too.
We have to be very cautious of
And
that,
I'm very,
but I don't know how we can recommend that. I mean, how do we get that information?
let's
Well, they
see.
didn't change any of the library wages.
Right, so wages are
But
open,
if the
so they're
library,
gonna be open the same hours.
Oh, you're, okay, all right.
see,
The
the,
selectmen did address that last night,
Did they?
yesterday afternoon, and they're well aware of the certification issue, and they're not going to risk that.
Oh,
okay,
good,
okay,
okay, good,
okay.
good.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you,
Thank
yeah.
you.
We're gonna have to watch that meeting.
Yeah, I
I
will have
guess.
to watch that.
Um,
So, okay.
now we
that's
come
good
to
know.
recreation. So. Recreation support staff.
What number you on?
I'm on,
Line
Six.
700.
yeah, 700.
Okay.
Recreation support staff, 7,000. I thought,
Okay, so
yeah, let's talk about that.
it started as 17,477 last year, and it was initially 17,477 with 10,000 coming from the recreation revolving fund as it has for the past years. And so that's why you're seeing the 7,477. They're talking about changing the department, but they want to keep the assistant, and that's why they've dropped it just to $1, just to keep the line open with a budget.
So let me ask this,
Mhm.
since, you know, she's got the summer program and the before and after school program and all those programs that are self-paying, cannot the department head salary come out of those funds instead of coming out of the town budget?
We are going to get the revolving funds and look at them.
Oh, did you request them?
Yeah.
Good, because I think that that's a very valid question.
I don't know that there's enough money in a revolving account to pay a salary of the
Well, the revolving,
department head.
the
salary.
fees all go into the general fund, right? They don't?
No, the fees for recreation are one of the revolving funds.
Okay, they go into that fund
It goes
directly.
in directly to the revolving fund, and salaries for the counselors are paid from there, expenses are paid from there. So it's not anything, it's not anything you see in the budget and posted directly here. You have to get the revolving fund.
Okay.
Okay, but we were
Yeah.
told that this was a self-funding department,
for the
except for the director's salary.
Correct.
Now we're getting the director's salary, and now we're adding the support staff salary.
No, it's coming
No?
out. No, the support staff was in there at $7,000. They weren't finding somebody to hire that position, so they're foregoing the position with the opportunity to
Got it, so 10,000, whatever, will come from the revolving account.
use it. They're dropping it to 1,000, so there's gonna be no assistant director hired.
They're terminating the position?
They're not terminating it, that's why it's $1.
It's vacated.
Oh,
Vacated.
vacated.
And I
Okay.
haven't found anybody to take it for that money, so I
For a
suspect,
dollar?
no, for the 17,000,
Oh,
which is, combination of the 7,000 funded by the town.
Bless you.
oh, well,
Question.
all right, so
So
But
they
if,
just put $1 on the line to
I
keep,
get it.
to keep the accounting line open in the event that in the future we're able to hire an assistant director.
So the proposed cut is not $1. The
No,
supposed
that's
cut is $7,476.
Or it's 7,476.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
so if there was enough money in the revolving funds, potentially to pay the department head
Correct.
out of
Okay.
those
So
funds.
increase fees more.
Well, that's a very good question because we met with the recreation department because they had a special meeting because of the, threats and rumors that have been done. So we went to the meeting. And one of the interesting things was that she said that she joined a fitness program, which was a national program, which is supposedly good for people to use. However, she hasn't been able to put the equipment in the ground yet because she needs $35,000.
Mhm.
So my question is, we didn't speak at the meeting.
Okay, yeah.
But someone did ask the question, if she doesn't raise the $35,000
Mhm.
by December, because that's the deadline,
Okay.
who pays it?
Is it who pays it or the
I mean-
equipment is just doesn't get installed and we don't use it?
That's my question. I mean, what happened? I mean, it's sitting in the garage.
We owe them $35,000.
They want $35,000 to install it.
I believe it's for installation, but I think there's some kind of connection that they have to use a certain company to install it or some kind of.
Certified. I would
Right.
suspect.
Right.
So my question is $35,000 gonna come out of the revolving fund? Or is it gonna come out of the taxpayers' money as a whoops?
We don't have the money. to rebuild.
We don't have, there's no money to come up with to help with 35,000 out of the operating budget.
Are we on the question is, are we on the
town's on
hook?
the hook.
Is the
has to
town,
pay it.
The town's on the hook.
it is that like in a contract when they bought this equipment? So when you buy this equipment, there was no pre-planning that says, oh, by the way, how am I gonna get the money to install it? So we just go out and buy equipment and we can't install it. And how much was the equipment? I hate to ask.
125.
100.
Thereabouts, 100 something.
Holy cow.
And it's sitting out there.
Okay,
So I think the townspeople should know about this because they might have to come up with 35,000 in December. So how do we get that message out?
as a taxpayer, I'd be pissed.
And you would be right.
She's
Julie,
supposed to be
'cause-
doing fundraising,
Ah,
Okay,
but she hasn't started yet, and she's had this plan for 3 years now.
how long we've had this equipment sitting in the garage?
Since COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
So why are we on the hook for installing it if it's been sitting in the
Because
garage
she-
for 3
because
years?
She hasn't done any fundraising,
Well, yeah, so why can't it just sit there forever?
because we're gonna have to return it.
Well, let's return it and get our
I
money
say
back.
return it.
I mean, I talked to her and find out what or get
Yeah.
a copy of the contract, it must have to be in the town somewhere. Somebody's got the contract.
And what is this equipment for? Because we just
Fitness,
voted.
fitness.
It's a
No,
fitness-
that's
That's
that's.
entirely different, fine.
Yeah, that was
Fitness.
playground, that was a playground.
Oh, that was the playground.
What is a playground besides fitness?
No,
This is like
This is for
a,
adults.
yeah,
Adult.
Yeah, a
It's a-
fitness trail.
This
kind
would be
of.
you and your wife going on this.
trail,
Equipment.
like a
Yeah.
trail, and then you, along the trail, there'd
You
be
know what a
like a
shovel
thing.
is? Do you know what?
Shovel rate.
So,
Yeah.
okay, So,
You know
Okay,
what
so
the-
I think the townspeople should,
He's got a
be aware of
fitness trail at his
Right.
farm,
Yeah.
that people
How do we-
can come use for free.
how do we see that it's not in the budget? It's
The
like a
amount
secret
of-
thing. How do we get it
Silky
out there in the
sand,
public?
I've had to
Well,
put down
maybe
or
we're
carry,
on the hook
and she
for
put
it.
down while I
Okay, we'll
carry
read
it
the
to her.
contract first.
Or go.
well, we gotta
Alright.
find the
buckets.
contract.
Okay, so we'll get the contract.
Is ridiculous.
Well, we used to
Find
have
out what
I used
it
to have
is.
horses, so I'm fully aware.
Just to get
I
around to
guess
beat
if
them
it sits in
without
the garage
falling and breaking
forever,
your
I
neck,
don't
or in
know.
her case, her hip.
Or return it.
But she already did.
Okay, so the
Break
library's
it, but
good,
hurt
the
it.
recreation
And I
is
don't wanna see
good.
that again.
What's the last thing? Oh.
I have reduced
Last
by,
but not least,
Which
What?
one is,
can I please read it out loud?
okay, please.
1,213,761.
Mhm.
1,213,148 insurance.
Health insurance,
Is that just health insurance?
that's just health insurance.
Okay. So we talked about this at the summit. And my question was, is anyone looking at the insurances to compare prices? Because those of us who get the Medicare book every year know that there's a lot of options that we can pick from. So is somebody responsible in this?
Nelson, my understanding is it would be Nelson responsible for going out and getting quotes for health insurance. I don't think.
And
there's
I think
anybody
his
else.
response was that it's disruptive. Was that not the word he used?
Sounds familiar.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
it was,
remember that?
because he said,
Yeah.
well, people might have to change carriers. I says, well, during my work life, I had to change
How many
carriers.
times?
And because
did
the
you do your
company,
4 years?
the company goes out and gets the cheapest rate that they can. And
4 years, and you get pretty close to free health insurance for the rest of your life.
Oh, when? When's that happen?
For me, it was the age of 18 to 22 or 23. I gave the 4 years.
Oh, yeah, well, that
Yeah.
ship sailed for
Yeah,
us.
They won't take me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're too old.
Actually, they were taking him up to the age of 50 not long ago.
mhm. Well,
Wow,
they're
that
desperate.
ship's still sailing.
No, there's so much more than carrying a rifle or, tending the
Right.
ship.
Right.
20, for everyone doing that kind of work, there's 25 in the backyard making sure that they can.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So we're gonna address that this year, correct? Dawn?
Yeah. Put it on our list.
That's a big number, and that's only gonna get bigger,
Mhm.
and the healthcare is only gonna get worse.
Mhm.
So it's diminishing return now. See them down in the hospital.
All right, what time we got?
It's well past 18,
Sorry, Dave.
2000.
I talk too much.
It's actually left 2,000 in the dead.
You had a lot of questions. I was just looking at
Oh, I have.
the DBA for the unemployment compensation. Paid 3,600 through December in unemployment, so there's only 12,000 in the unemployment. That's okay. We'll get an updated DBA. and take a look at
so
it.
if somebody does file a claim, how does that get paid?
It would come into the town, it'd be a bill from unemployment to the town and invoices.
And
So you're
then,
saying we had to pay 3,600 to somebody?
There's been 3,600 paid out of that unemployment compensation.
So they left, somebody
Who,
left,
who got fired? Because if
Don't
they,
know if anybody.
layoff, could be layoff,
did we have, but did we have any layoffs?
I don't know,
Not that I,
do we know?
because if they quit, they don't qualify for unemployment.
Depends on why they quit.
Sometimes it does.
yeah,
It, again, we get into the hours, and, it's a reduction of hours, you can't survive it, we gotta.
Right, that
go get
does
another
count,
job
yeah.
And change and. So it's kind of like, we can get more information on that, but I just wanted to look at it to see.
Yeah.
What the number was.
So are we gonna have another meeting?
Yeah, we should set up another meeting and, so we need to have it.
Did- When are we gonna get another revenue sheet? Because this is only half the picture.
This is only half
Right.
the picture, this is the expenses.
we
need-
probably
need
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 to
that.
make a
Yeah, we
motion,
need to-
depending on what that video says, how the override was
I
worded.
will ask Nelson and, see
Okay.
when the recap sheet.
And you'll let us
No,
know.
like it might be. Yeah, now for next meeting. we definitely have to get together before the 16th.
Yeah.
Start preparing. Board of Selectmen, a meeting on the 1st, because that's the first Tuesday. Do we want to meet that week and do April 3rd, or do you want to go on, keep it on Tuesdays, go to April 8th?
I think we should go on April 3rd, because we might have to have another meeting.
Well, you were gonna get the information from
How we?
the selectmen as to what they did on the.
We're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, we'll have to.
That's not what I asked for. I want it in writing.
We better watch it.
So you wanna do the 3rd?
As close as I get to that kind of TV is Outer Banks.
Summary, like, factual summary also.
And again, 6 p.m.
I'm not into reality
Is
TV.
6 good for you, David? Did you?
No, 6 is okay.
It is?
Okay.
6 is okay.
Right.
I mean, I went home after work and was sitting around and all of a sudden realized I had the meeting tonight and still got here on time, so.
Oh, okay,
That's why my alarm is set for, in this case, 40 minutes ahead of time.
Yeah.
that's good.
Cause I gotta drop what I'm doing out there. It takes 10 minutes to get into where there's what, inside at least, and I'm 15. So I just keep hitting recycle on those things, so it gives me a 10-minute warning as I go get closer and closer.
Reset, yeah.
I started that when my daughter had to, get on the school bus to go to whatever the school is right around the corner here, or, on the westward, Spalding. And, and it works.
Okay, so I'll try for the 3rd, which is next Thursday.
Okay.
At 6 p.m. We selected into PCAM to get the Zoom.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh.
Thursday is,
I make a
is,
motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:49.
Second,
oh,
We
there
had
it
a
is.
motion in a second, roll call vote.
Carol Hoff says yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
David Walker, yes.
Mary Jane Churchville, yes.
Ron Hayes, yes. We stand adjourned.